Defining Duke is brought to you by Chime. Kick off 2022 with a better checking account with no monthly fees. The best advice I can give you is to sign up to Chime, an award-winning app and debit card that has no overdraft fees, foreign transaction fees, monthly fees, or service fees. I always talk about my girlfriend when signing up for Chime because she was getting slammed with fees all over the place. And when she signed up with Chime, that finally came to a screeching halt. And I'm a big advocate of it because of that. So it's time for you to make your first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Duke. That's chime.com/Duke. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at any MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes, Pay Anyone instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must use a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds. Defining Duke is brought to you by Manscaped. This Valentine's Day, it's time for you to join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, you can go to manscaped.com and use the code DUKE for 20% off and free shipping. I love my lawnmower 4.0. I'm here to tell you all about it. I have to ask you one question. Do you enjoy gashing your balls? I know the answer to it. You don't, right? And with the Lawnmower 4.0, this electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate family jewels. Now get 20% off and free shipping with the code DUKE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code DUKE. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here, and welcome to episode 57 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by Sony's new son, Lord Cognito.
You gonna do me like that, huh? You're starting off early. Getting the Dukes up, man. What's going on, Maddie? I'm happy, man. We got a big show and a lot going on, and obviously the news that we talked about, and we had a sick Defining Duke Ultimate as well about that. So I know you said all that good stuff, but I'm happy to be here. And how have you been doing, sir?
I've been doing quite well, feeling nice, rested, relaxed. Our first big review is going on the channel. It'll be Dying Light 2. Actually, as we record this, it's going to go live in about an hour and a half. And those review scores have kind of surprised me. They were considerably lower than I thought, but that shit's buggy. We'll talk about that shortly.
We'll talk about it. We got to talk about it.
We'll get into that. But for those who are new, welcome one, welcome all. We hope you're having an absolutely average day. For those who want to sign up to the Patreon, we have hit a new high there. So thank you all so much. Early access for our show goes live on Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Otherwise, we love you freeloaders. We appreciate you. We just want to see the show grow. So we'll embrace you for the time being. Free feeds like Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, YouTube. We're available on Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll see you then. Otherwise, for those of you who are patrons, our Defining Duke Ultimate episode just dropped, episode 53. Shout out to Hoglaw. Man's a tank. Guy's been on every show imaginable right now. And we were originally planning a different episode for Defining Duke Ultimate, talking about like the legality of the Activision stuff. But then I did a video on it with Hogue, and I was like, we're going to be retreading old ground. So we were going to pivot, and I changed the date and recording time on Hogue like 3 times, because then we did our big 5-man episode, which is available for free on the Last Stand YouTube channel. Finally, we settled on a date, and it was the day that we recorded the Bungie episode. We called it PlayStation's Counterpunch because that's what it was being viewed as. A lot of people in the comments were like, it's a clickbait. We didn't think it was the Counterpunch because the wording suggests it's not, but I understand. Anyway, Hoglaw joined us for that episode, and it was a really good one. Just breaking down in the moment the Bungie acquisition by Sony, which we'll talk about more thoroughly here in this video, or this episode, sorry. I'm still in YouTuber mode.
No, you good. It was fantastic, man. Must watch. Like Hogue attacks this thing
You did
And
amazing.
I mean, and Maddie, you did too as well. You know, from a different
It was you
perspective.
two. It was you two for real. Like I was just moderating. You guys like had it all covered. I was like, okay, so next question.
You did a fantastic job setting it up, and we got to see some different angles, man. But yeah, must watch for sure.
I agree. All right. We got a lot of stuff to go through. This is the most write-ins we've ever had in an episode here. So shout out to everyone who's been engaging with the episode. I posted in Last Stand Media Discord. Thank you all so much. This has been my favorite batch of questions. They're insightful. Some of them are fucking hilarious. Like we just got a lot of good stuff in here. Very topical, all that good stuff. So before we begin with the news, we got some tidbits to go through, but I want to start with VRG who writes, hey fellas, did you see the new Halo trailer and did it impress you guys? What do you think about the AK weapon platform still being viable 500 years from now? What about Cortana's new look, the Human Covenant? I can't wait to subscribe to Paramount Plus for exactly 1 month when all the episodes are available. The Book of Boba Fett accidentally released an episode of The Mandalorian kind of day. That Star Wars Halo ring was awesome. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett heating up a little bit for those who haven't checked it out. Cog, the new trailer for the Halo TV series dropped. It was during I believe the Bengals Chiefs game, right? And I thought it was solid. I liked what I saw.
You like that? That's what I'm about to say. I thought it was too. I mean, like I came in. I always expect the worst from stuff you love.
Right.
I always expect goofy, low bar stuff. So I saw your comments and my feelings. We were still live on IOP when it dropped, and then we kind of did like a live reaction without showing the video because we didn't get striked or anything. But listen, I felt the effects looked really good. I love the size disparity between Chief and the elites. So it gave that sense of pressure and doom. You know, I get some people, go like, hey, they didn't have Steve Downs' voice. But at the end of the day, it's like, I wasn't that upset. I was just like, okay, I get it. I get where a fan could feel a little bit of a way. But really, is Steve Downs going to be running around, you know what I'm saying, doing all that stuff? No, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's going to be some concessions. Now, the other thing I hear people with the look of, how did you feel about the look of Cortana, that whole vibe?
All right,
where
so
are you there?
It's a bit of a hot take because I saw her. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think she looked great per se, but my perspective is like, this woman has been through so much in all these games. She went from normal Cortana to sexy as hell Cortana in Halo 4, like good lord, great. And Halo 5, she's a different Cortana. And then, I mean, we've seen so many renditions of her. To me, I'm like, what's one more? They got Jen Taylor for the voice. Like, that's good. I like that. I mean, it makes that Steve Downs missing stand out a little bit more.
True.
But her look, I was like, man, we've seen so many renditions of Cortana. I understood people's, I don't want to be dismissive. I understood people's issues with it. But for me, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it looked fine. I'm excited. I just felt they're paying respect. And when I get impressed, when I come in with a low bar, I'm like, okay, there's a little budget here. We got the silicone. Okay, battle rifle look good. Bro, I'm feeling it. I really am excited. They gonna have me buy this damn Paramount Plus. I saw your video, Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass got set up. Yeah, come on. You're giving us Crunchyroll, but you're gonna give us Paramount Plus the month it comes around. They got it. That's gotta be.
I will say this. I'll drop a gem on you. I don't know if it has any credence to what our theory is, but I'm part of the insider program, and I was asked some questions about Paramount, so we'll see.
That would make sense.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but it looks solid. There was funny things people were pointing out afterwards. When I asked on Twitter, I was like, does anyone like this? Because I kind of did. And someone was pointing out there was like a Chevy Tahoe in the background of one of the shots, and I went, oh, they didn't clean up too much at times.
They had the Chevy in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of things there where you're like, interesting. But hey, I thought the action scenes looked really sick. I don't know.
Me too. I dug it, man. I dug it.
We'll see. But thank you for writing in, VRG. We'll talk about this next month on Defining Duke, just how this show rolls out. That'd actually be a fun Defining Duke Ultimate episode. Now that I think about it.
Well, we break it down. That would be good.
Ghostwire Tokyo, its release date leaked onto PSN. It's now official that it'll be coming out March 24th, 2022. They're also going to be doing extensive state of play for this one. I know this is a PlayStation game. Some people may be scratching their head. This will come to Xbox eventually. It will be on Game Pass. And so the quicker it comes out, the quicker you get it. I don't feel great about this one.
Me neither. Continue. Why? Tell me why.
So a lot of people, when I posted this, went, you're putting the cart before the horse. Maddie, don't you know Bethesda? They love to show off their games as late as humanly possible. I'm like, that's Bethesda Game Studios. I love Tango Gameworks. Like, their work on the first Evil Within is some of my favorite that Bethesda's ever produced. I love that game. I think that Evil Within 2 is okay, but I get why it resonated with a lot of people. I think it was one of the best Last of Us imitations you could probably get out there, which was kind of surprising. But let's not size them up to Bethesda Game Studios in my eyes. And there's a reason why. I'm talking on a fanfare marketing level, not quality that's in the eye of the beholder. But a lot of people were saying, like, they'd love to release these things as close as humanly possible. I'm like, no. They've shown Ghostwire Tokyo multiple times. Remember when Akumi Nakamura came out on the stage? She was E3's star. Everyone fell in love with her. And she left the company months later as creative director. And then the game didn't come out for now, I think, another 3 years. This game's been through hell and back again. And now they're releasing it 1 month later. Now, as the time of recording this, I need to make it clear, we have not seen the gameplay. And I'm not going to give it a full jurisdiction right here. But my interpretation as of this moment in time is, even if they show me something good, I'm going in cautiously, because we're talking about a game that's like the Evil Within 1 and 2 got a lot of marketing, and they underperformed significantly. Now you're telling me Ghostwire, which is just floating around every now and then, sometimes in a state of play, then mega delay. Now it's releasing 1 month away. I just don't think this game's being set up for success. It's weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, you couldn't have said it any better. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, it's just one of those things where I felt trepidation from the beginning. The initial vision, I remember when it debuted, I was actually at that Bethesda conference in real life when it debuted. And I'm like, wow. Awesome. And then, I forgot, I can't pronounce her name, but she was, exactly, so she was like the darling, and she comes out, and it's like, and I like the initial trailer vision. But then when I saw the next iteration, obviously she leaves, I see the next iteration, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really...
Jutsu things.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I'm really digging it right now. So again, in fairness, we do need to see updated gameplay and what's going on with it. And, then we'll really have our, decision on what it is. But right now, I'm with you. I'm just like cautious. I'm not like beating the door. I can't wait. I need to see before listen, I know the common boys get mad. I'm going to wait. And see what's going on, because eventually that's going to come to Game Pass anyway. So I'm going to go see how the water is and how people review it. And I'm going to look from a distance. Is it safe? Is it cool?
Yep.
All right.
Yep. I feel you. So we'll see. By next episode, we'll know, and we'll have a better idea. So we'll talk about it a little bit more then. In other news, Bloomberg reports that Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League has been delayed to 2023. Quietly at that, but this is a little surprising, I thought, because they got a pretty extensive gameplay reveal.
Yeah, they look like they were like flowing on all cylinders. So yeah, definitely surprised by this one. I didn't have to catch this one, so I'm glad you put this in the notes, because
actually, for reference, the release date for Arkham Knight was June 23rd, 2015. Obviously, games like Arkham VR came out, but that was like their last main game. We're talking 8 years. Wow. When this comes out.
They take a long time.
They do. And what sucks is, like, when I saw Kill the Justice League, I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I'm not fully sold on it. I love Rocksteady's premier focus on Batman and how they built him as a character. And it'll be a real test for them to build all of these other characters in the Suicide Squad at once without leaning on the idea of like, oh, have you seen the movies? Have you read the comics? Right. So it's going to be a challenge for them, but wishing them the best.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the second trailer for me kind of sold me a little bit more. The first one, I was like, but again, we got to see. But, I guess all delays are a good thing, I guess.
I'm more in on Gotham Knights right now, honestly. Yes. I love the co-op vibe. Obviously, that looks a little bit more like the Arkham-style games that we're used to. I thought that game got slandered really bad when people were sizing it up with Marvel Avengers. I'm not saying that's going to be better in it, but those are two totally different games. Avengers was also just garbage.
Yeah, well,
so.
Moving on.
Shout out to Ben on this one. Sea of Thieves in 2022. They said it's going to be the biggest year yet, and that's pretty surprising. And what they've announced, I thought, actually sounded very cool. So Season 6 begins in March, and it'll introduce Sea Forts, which will vary in difficulty depending on your squad. It enables solo play. So this is actually a pretty cool feature here. But what I love more, and it's funny because I remember saying to Ben, how, oh, I wish that they would add these more storytelling things, these more narrative-driven aspects like we saw in the Pirates of the Caribbean time. So they're adding in 2022 storytelling features. One is called Adventures, which are monthly story-driven live events. And then there are mysteries, which are in and out of game hints that unravel a story across a couple of months. This is a little write-up I found that says older areas of the world will be continuously revamped over the time as stories develop. And at key moments, the community will have to decide how the story ends. Player data will contribute towards the narrative. If pirates choose one side over the other, the world will adapt accordingly. So this sounds awesome, honestly.
This is cool. Listen, I'm proud of them because I got to be honest. I was the Sea of Thieves hater. I was that guy. I got to call fraud on myself.
How couldn't you?
I was just like, oh, this is bare bones, and I like the idea of it when it first was announced. And I remember going to E3, and I'll never forget, Maddie. That game was the only game outside of maybe like Zelda Breath of the Wild and like Mario, maybe what was the Mario that jumped on Switch? I forget the name. I'm blanking on Mario. Odyssey, right.
Yeah.
Out of the E3s I've been to, as far as lines and pure hype, that if you're not media, you're not getting to play this game because so many. Sea of Thieves was that game. It was I was like, look, I'm not even dealing, because at the time I wasn't media at the time, so I'm not even dealing with that. But to see where it's come to now, and then to have these things just keep being added and the content, and I love the mysteries, I love this live service kind of thing. And me and the Lords, we did the Pirates of the Caribbean, the story DLC as a group. We streamed it. It was hilarious, bro. I had a ball. It was me, King, Addicts. We're bugging out. It was like a community stream, and it was so much fun. And I have to admit, I was wrong on this one. Has legs. I know we always give Rare a problem because we want the old Rare, but this is clearly a success. So we got to give them their flowers. And if King, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the millions and millions. King always tells me about the millions and millions of engagement. He's right. He's right. Attic used to tease him. He was like, it's not all that. Yeah. It is. Yeah.
No, it took time for sure. And I don't think anyone's really wrong for their apprehension of the game early on, but it's in a really good state now. And I think it's really just getting it. Every year, it feels like it's just getting started, right? I remember when Game Pass started to kick up a notch and you could see that driving player base. Sea of Thieves was the first beneficiary that people were really talking about. And so that was a beginning again. And then I feel like with the Pirates of the Caribbean, it was a beginning again, a new phase. And now this actually sounds like something that, if this was not a super busy year, I'd probably be in on, but I can't make any promises. I'm sorry, Ben.
But we might have to get the mayor in. We have to get the mayor in for that one.
Yes. All right, we got to do a very important follow-up. There was a lot of write-ins on this one, but we got to talk to the man, Trent Miller. You may recognize that name. Hey, guys, it's me, the son of the onion sandwich eater. Just wanted to follow up to let you know he is not, in fact, from the UK, nor has any roots there. He's just a farmer from the Midwest. I don't know if that makes his eating habits worse or if he's perhaps more cultured.
Wow. Wow. What are we doing? What do we do with Trent? Is that like, what do we do with him?
I put a lot of disrespect out there for the onion sandwich eaters, and I'm definitely not holding back now because I think it makes his habits worse because, I could see now Trent's dad, if he's a farmer in the Midwest, like he's probably pulling it from the ground itself, taking this crispy onion, not even caramelized. It's probably a crunchy ass piece of bread he's eating. I mean, Trent, come on, brother. You gotta rein your dad in. You gotta fix this problem. It's on you now. That's what's gotta happen now. So follow up again. Let us know if your dad has any response to what I had to say there. And of course, Cog, please fire away.
Listen, sometimes you gotta sit down with family. You gotta have them interventions, man. It's just you're not living right. You're not living right. Bro, I can't do that onion sandwich, man. That's all him.
Well, a lot of people are quite impassioned here. Let's keep it rolling a little bit here. Orochi News Team writes in, Dukes, forget all these games and acquisitions for a moment. This onion sandwich has been on my mind. Think about this. Have you thought about this, Cog? When people write in about like the onion sandwich, there's a week gap before they can actually write in about it if you're a patron. So just incredible, right? He says, fella talked about it last episode. It sounds like patty melt with no meat. I know y'all F with a patty melt. I'm not censoring him. He censored himself. Buttered sourdough grilled to a buttery crisp. Grilled melted cheese, grilled onions. I'm just saying, I'm not mad at it. Now, if this guy's dad is putting raw onions on a sandwich, then okay, that's crazy. But caramelized grilled onions, sign me up. I hope y'all have a texted the wifey the side check message kind of day.
Oh, wow. You living foul, brother. you doing too much if you having that type of day. Wow.
There was a wiki page that I think got deleted, but
that was classic. Look, man. Yeah, I can't do like the caramelized onions.
Yeah.
All right, get a little flavor.
I like that on like a burger. I can deal with that.
Like a little burger, you know what I'm saying? The melted cheese and
just
all that.
Bread?
But just bread and plain? Who raised you? Like, what is going on? What's going on in your life? Like, come on. That is then who's talking to you after that? After you had the onion sandwich.
True, right?
Who are you getting intimate with? After the onion sandwich, y'all gotta start living better.
I think
Do better.
If you eat an onion sandwich, it's probably confirmed you're likely single. Yeah, like,
yes, clearly
that's got to be what's happening here.
We judge it.
I'm curious where Devin Oberdan stands, right? Because he writes in, "Hey boys, first time write-in here. It's been meaning to write in for a while, but something came up last week that finally compelled me. When Maddie disparaged pickled onions as barbaric and uncultured, was this directed just to the idea of eating them straight in a pub, as Jez mentioned?" Or was it an affront on pickled onions as a whole? Just saying that if you haven't slapped some pickled red onions on Mexican food, a chicken sandwich, and really all kinds of food, then you're missing out greatly, and I'm hoping this write-in can help steer you straight. Keep up the great work on the show, and when it comes to pickled onion slander, stand down. A little bit of Dustin Furman action here.
That sounds like Dustin wrote that one for you.
Yeah, so the way I envisioned this at first, I don't think I heard the pickled part, because I remember when Jez said this, I distinctly thought of him sitting at a bar with a beer and a jar of pickles, like long, thick dill pickles, and just crunching down on them and then drinking beer. I'm like, that is a taste mixture that should never be humanly possible. That scares me. And so pickled onions, on the other hand, I'm looking them up. I don't like these either, to tell everyone the truth. These just, like, when I see them on my burger, off they go. Not about
you the flicker.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely barbaric. Still barbaric. I stand by it. Not stand down, I stand by.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, this one, it doesn't bother me as much, but again, not something I'm going to be really subscribing to, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, that was a passionate food episode. Like that last dude with the Xbox 2, that was insane. Salute to them, man. They bring it out of us.
We're not done. That's what's funny. There's still more here. There's still more. Spectre Bull writes in with a story. Hey, Dukes, got a tale for you all, so sit tight. I promise it's worth it. Last week, I grew very sick. So Thursday, I said, no problem. I'll hop on the bike and head out to get tested while I listen to the newest episode of Dividing Duke. Unbeknownst to me, this would be the worst bike ride of my entire life. While Jez and Rand ripped into each other and tried to convince us Americans to eat onions and cheesy buttered toast, I was wheezing just from biking a few feet and walking up inclines. 2 hours later, and an hour late to my appointment, I get the call from the health center and I have tested positive for COVID. Time to travel those hilly 6 to 7 miles back home. My body was not happy. I was wondering if the last words I would hear of Jez calling Maddie a 12-year-old for playing Lego games. I powered through. Just a couple of miles before my home, I managed to find a gas station for a much-needed bathroom break. Most of my trip was on a highway with no rest stops in sight. I'm on the toilet in pain and wondering if I'm going to pass out while listening to the Brish boys complain about their bad sleeping habits. It took me roughly another hour or so to power through those last 2 miles. As soon as I walked through my front door, Maddie is closing the show. All this to say, Dukes, thank you for helping me in my darkest hour by putting up a meaty episode like last week. COVID kicked my ass, but like the Chief, I finished the fight. Now, where can I find Jez? He needs to address what his problem is with Lego games.
Wow. Yo, salute. First of all, salute, Spectre. Like, that was insane that you had to go through that.
Yeah.
And, like, bro, like, you a trooper. Yeah, like I said, I recently myself, Maddie found out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I just went through it, I just went through it myself. I put myself in a situation, got exposed, and then I had to isolate myself because of, the COVID thing. And I can tell you firsthand, after the first 2 days, you like death. You know what I'm saying? Then you bounce back. But yeah, man, salute to you listening to us, getting through, remembering all aspects of how you felt versus where we were at in the topics.
He'll remember this for the rest of his life.
Yeah, man. Salute to you. But all jokes aside, I'm glad you're doing better, brother. And good health, and take care of yourself, rest up. And that, it makes us feel good when, people say, hey, we provided some level of comfort during a tough time.
Absolutely. Especially on a hiking trip, right? Where you're in pain.
For sure.
You're sick.
Oh,
And you just listen to us banter about BS. You're like, they don't even get it. Privileged assholes.
they get it. They don't get it.
All right, last write in, we'll get into what we're playing. Just a lot of them that were so funny to me. And this one is a very cool one. Andy writes, hey guys, so let me start by saying I've always been a PlayStation guy, but since Game Pass, I've noticed I play my Series X more. But I miss my PS4 and PS5 controller. I've grown so accustomed to using one over an Xbox controller that it doesn't feel right. With a lot of us jumping ship or even just popping over from PlayStation to Xbox, I noticed a lot of my friends say the same thing. Well, I found a device called Wingman Converter. No, I don't own the company or sell them, so this is just a heads up to fellow gamers. It lets you use a PS3, 4, or 5 controller on your Xbox Series S and X, and even on the Xbox 360. It's awesome and has made my transition to Xbox way easier. It ran me about $45, but it was money well spent. So we get a lot of comments that people are moving over. I thought this would be worth shouting out.
Yeah. Oh, this is great, man. I'm glad we added this one. And good to keep up the onion flow, too. That was
Yeah.
I like that. Now, with this is, I want to shout out Andy because this is a real thing for a lot of people. And it's just ecosystem and what you're used to, right? And I'm going to be honest, like, when I grew up with the PlayStation ecosystem, the initial one, and in my opinion, and a lot of Xbox fans give me a lot of crap for this, but I just feel they're the superior controller with fighting games. Like, there's something about that separated D-pad, and I could just get my fireball motions off. It's something about it. So I always felt like initially, now don't get me wrong, the Xbox controller D-pad has come a long way. But if you've been around from the beginning, the Xbox D-pad was always in the beginning.
360 D-pad's not talked about enough.
Okay, so people, I always got to keep it real. You know, tell people now what they want to hear, what they need. I'll be like, Xbox, y'all got to step it up for fighting. So that's cool. And then what I like is that people are now able to use their controllers, and that'll get a guy over. A guy be like, hey, I can use my PlayStation stuff over here. I can still do that. And that makes that transition a little bit easier.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Manscaped. Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't let a wild pube just wreck you. I know it sounds like something I'm roasting you for in Halo Infinite, but we're talking about Manscaped. Valentine's Day is just around the corner, and our sponsors at Manscaped are here for you with the best tools to get your balls ready for that special occasion. This Valentine's Day, it's time for you to join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, you can go to manscaped.com and use the code DUKE for 20% off and free shipping. I love my lawnmower 4.0. I'm here to tell you all about it. I have to ask you one question. Do you enjoy gashing your balls? I know the answer to it. You don't, right? And with the Lawnmower 4.0, this electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate family jewels. Plus, a 4000K LED spotlight so you can see wherever you're shaving. Now get 20% off and free shipping with the code DUKE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code DUKE, join Cupid, and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day. Well, with that, we got a lot of games to talk about that we're playing. We still got warm-up questions. It's a meaty episode here.
Yeah.
Kai, I want to get started with you because, I have a lot of the known games, if you will, but you're playing, outside of one of them, I've never heard of these. So let's get into what you're playing.
I knew I would surprise you this week.
I don't know what's going on.
This one, I want to shout out Attic because, we're team Lords of the Turn Base, and he put me onto. He's like, this is a game called Reverie Dawn Tactics. When you think about it, I was like, I never even heard of it. So I'm looking, press emails, see if I got something for the site, and it's this. All right, picture the look of it is like a Banner Saga style as far as the tiles. Now wait, calm down, man. Nope, it's not. It's levels. It's not style. Style like Banner Saga for me is high end, but this I'm talking about hand drawn art though. They got them. Like this is probably one of the best hand drawn art turn based games I've ever seen. Now, the difference between them and Banner Saga is that Banner Saga is every unit one unit goes, then the enemy unit goes.
This is really like it. Keep going.
Yeah, you see how it look good, right? Yo, bro, it looks amazing. The art style's fire. Now, here's the only thing. It doesn't have that Banner Saga thing in that respect, but what's cool is you go, like typical XCOM, your team goes, then their team goes. But what's cool is they even have decision and choice trees in dialogue that affect a lot of things, story, attributes. The potential is there. Now, here's the negatives.
Oh, no.
Oh, the UI is clunky as hell. It's
Uh,
just not intuitive to be able to like. I'm used to be able to switch and move around my characters on the fly pretty easy, but they
mm,
have these like a whole bunch of little sub menus where you would get to use your abilities, and they got cool abilities, but it's just clunky.
mm.
But here's the other thing, bro. This thing is extremely difficult. I'm talking about. I was getting bodied by like the second mission. Like
Mm.
you've really got to think through things through. They have new things on the map where you can put enemies into traps and trap them.
Yeah, I'm looking
They
at that right now.
AoE, they got these cool things where it's like members of your party could do team up attacks if they're adjacent and use their action points for these big mega cinematic type of
Mm.
things. Here's the other thing. The story though, it's actually pretty cool. They
Okay,
what they do
teach.
is these storyboards to kind of get you. So the long and short of it is like the elves. It was like an elven situation. They were all cool. They were running things, and they kind of like treated the orcs like the slaves, and they were killing them and doing all type of evil stuff. Then the orcs came back. They did an uprising, took over, destroyed, killed their
Mm.
kings, beheaded. So it's just a power shift between these elves and these orcs, and it's really cool, man. I'm not gonna front. The potential is there. I played I got about a couple hours in it. I do like it. I'm gonna continue to rock with it. But Reverie Dawn, it's not in Game Pass. I did buy it. It's about $24, but I liked it. I like what I'm playing so far. So
Keep me
that's that.
posted on that. This looks really good.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. I'm gonna stick with it. And Addict's farther than me, but it's very hard. So anyway,
Mm.
so that's the first day. The second day, Lord Oculus got to talk a little VR,
Mm.
bro. Zenith, the Last City. I think I finally found my MMO on console. I mean on VR. It
Mm.
is picture Breath of the Wild meets Fantasy Star Online. I can I can climb anything. Bro, you got your class, you got your with the VR, Skyrim mates, I can hold my hand in the sky like this, and I'm charging up this like elemental magic, throwing it at energies. You got your mage class, you got your dual wielding sword class, you could do tank DPS. Bro, they
Ah,
have done and the
wow,
interface. Now you want to talk
you've
about
been eating good lately.
I've
Wow.
been great. This is my new. This is not Demio was my number one. In one play session, Zenith is number two. It's right now on Steam VR, Oculus VR, and PlayStation with crossplay. The servers are solid. The art
Oh,
style is beautiful. It looks like JRPG, bro. You put your arms back like Naruto. You can fly and glide with your character. I'm telling you, they got one. Now there's some
is it
core
early
base.
access or anything?
No,
There's
no,
some people
it
released?
just dropped. It just dropped as a full
Oh,
They were in early access before. I didn't play it back then. I didn't know about it. But I
wow.
see
This is
the
cool.
advertising. Yeah, it's really cool. It's JRPG MMO in VR. It is amazing. And like I said, for the PlayStation Sacred Symbols guys, PlayStation VR has it as well. Full crossplay with Oculus and Steam VR. They got one. This is a lot of foundation. So check that out. And the last one, of course, is Destiny. A lot of Bungie news. Doing my Destiny Witch Cream prep, getting ready in a couple more weeks. They dropping trailers. The hype's there.
Mm.
But yeah, man, those are the two I've been playing. But yeah, I'll give you
Wow,
the
dude. Great finds. These are sick.
in the cut ones. Yeah, like I'm loving those two
Man,
games,
this is what
man.
I'm saying. This is why this year's gonna be difficult because like I'm gonna talk about the big games, right? That like people are already looking at, and you just found like beneath the cut two fucking awesome ass games here.
Yeah, bro, they look cool.
Oh man.
What you rocking, big time, man? You've Mr. 456,000 subs, and what you
All right,
rocking? What else you playing?
let's get started with we'll do Pokemon first. So I've been
Okay,
playing
yeah.
Legends Arceus. For those who don't know, long time Pokemon hater. I loved it growing up. I love me Mystery Dungeon. Like if anyone hasn't played Super Mystery Dungeon, probably one of the best Pokemon stories, if not the best Pokemon story. Like it's actually dark, gets really fucked up. It's by the people who wrote Danganronpa. So
I
hey,
was just about to say, is it Danganronpa dark though?
it's by the people who wrote it. So
That's
yeah,
what's up.
that's exactly why. Yeah, of course it's Pokemon. They're not gonna be fucking killing each other, but you're gonna see some good grit, I'll say. And so I dig that game a lot. But otherwise, Pokemon Conquest comes to mind. It's few and far between. Like Pokemon's very hit or miss for me. The last mainline entry I liked was Sun and Moon. With Legends Arceus, everyone's like, oh, it's the Breath of the Wild treatment. Wrong. It's the Monster Hunter treatment. It's the Monster Hunter treatment.
Oh, break it down, break it
If
down.
it's taken anything from any game, visually it's not even fucking close to Breath of the Wild. It looks horrible. It's a bad looking game. It's embarrassing for a Pokemon game to look like this. Let's just make that clear, abundantly clear.
Damn.
So its attempt at being Breath of the Wild is only in visual style and it's box art. Otherwise, when you jump in there, it's not a full open world. It's segmented open worlds and biomes with a morning, day, night cycle where Pokemon come out at specific times and you interact with them in different ways. Like you got to crawl in the bushes. And so you're slinking around a little bit. If you go behind them and you hit them with the Pokeball, you get a back strike, which allows you to catch them a bit easier. But really, what's cool about this game is the core pillars of what makes Pokemon Pokemon is here, right? So you explore, you catch, you fight. Those are the things I complained about the most. I'm like, change it up. It's about how you approach them that makes it so much better. It's about the Pokedex. So instead of in the original games, you catch it, your Pokedex is filled for that entry. Now it's about this kind of checklist where it's like, catch 2 of them, catch 1 of them during the day, defeat one of them with an attack they're weak to, feed one of them, evolve one of them. And there's a laundry list of them. You don't have to hit all of these, but there's a ton of them, and you'll just gradually hit them over time. And it leads to this, for me at least, I've never had this with Pokemon, but this like obsession where I want to complete all the entries. Never, ever, as much as I love Pokemon, even in my heyday when I was a little kid, never completed a Pokedex. I want to in this game. Big difference maker, because it takes for me like inspiration from all the entries in little ways. Like the beginning of the game, very much inspired by Mystery Dungeon. The way that you see Pokemon in their natural habitat, just doing their thing, Pokemon Snap. The way they're so lifelike, finally, and decently animated, Pokemon Stadium. Like, transformative in many ways for fans. It's a template that you can believe in, I think. And also the story doesn't follow the same rhythm of, I'm leaving home. See you later. I'm going to go be a trainer and go beat up a bunch of gyms at age 10. See you, Mom. No, that's not happening here. Like you fall out of this time rift in the sky, and it turns out it seems like you're from the future. And the way they play with like the Diamond and Pearl games with that timeline, awesome. It's really good. I like it a lot. I've put about 15
Pokemon
hours.
Community is that they're in agreement now. This is.
Is
it a split in the community?
Because it's one of those games that if you are in the Pokemon community, I think you're very pleased. If you are outside of it, that's where it gets awkward, because it's absolutely triumphed by many titles surrounding it. Like it's still, comparatively speaking, not standing well head and shoulders above other games like the #1 grossing IP on planet Earth should be. But in its series and with how stagnant it got, especially when we saw Sword and Shield come out, which I despised when I played that game. I could not stomach playing that game for more than 5 hours. When I bought Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, I only got 2 hours in. The fact that I got 15 hours in and I want to play more in this game says more than anything else I said before it. So
speaks volumes.
So yeah, been playing that. But the game I put the most time into as of late, I can now talk about Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2, had it for about 2 weeks now. Full review is out on the channel. It's about 26 minutes if you want like a real full focus discussion on that. I like this game a lot, Cog, when it works. That's the problem here. I had a buggier experience with Dying Light 2 than Cyberpunk. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked by that, but that's, again, I'm always honest with my reviews, as I think is the right thing to do. When I delivered my Cyberpunk review, I was like, yo, this shit's really buggy, but I still had a great time. Why is that? Because my Cyberpunk playthrough wasn't that bug riddled. It was when they put in those subsequent patches that fucked that game up.
Wow.
With this game though, man, every session, I'm proud of this line, every session I said was a true battle between, can the fun outweigh the technical errors that are occurring?
Wow.
I get stuck in the environment. When I die, spawning in a wall, the audio randomly going and buzzing extremely loud. No distinct trigger. No distinct trigger. It just happens. Audio bugs like the dialogue automatically skipping. Sometimes quest waypoints disappearing. I just a laundry list of them. It's so many.
Jesus.
But here's the thing, Cog. Here's the thing that I can put my finger on, but it's such a mystery to me in a manner of speaking, because it shouldn't be working this way. I beat the game. It kept coming back. Normally, when the review is done, I've seen enough side content, enough mainline content. I feel like my opinion is formed and solidified. It's time to get to the script. It's time to record, But with this game, I beat it. It's like, let me go back in. Wow. So right away, I went back in. And then I played a little bit of a game we're going to talk about next, played some Pokemon. I came back, though. I did a bunch more of the open world content, and I came back again. Why this is the case is underneath this plethora of bugs is a game that is so unique, in my opinion.
Mm,
There's no game doing what Dying Light's doing. I need to
wow.
iterate that one more time. There's no game doing what Dying Light's doing
Wow. That's
because
big.
we're talking about first person open world parkour. So by movement alone, Dying Light is fundamentally different than anything we have. First person combat is parkour driven as well. So it's not just about wall running, grabbing cool little poles conveniently placed. It's not about that. It's about kicking your enemy in the stomach, they bend over, jumping off their back and drop kicking the guy behind them off a building. It's that level of interaction. It's about grabbing a spear, throwing it in someone's chest, and then leaping off that. Like there is a level of interactivity here in the first person combat that, obviously parkour is the heartbeat of this series that I feel is exemplified in this entry. Like it is so well done. And that makes the point A to point B great, which is something I complimented Spider-Man PS4 for its efforts, making just traversal fun. And it's just the amount of activities you have, man, like the parkour challenges. There's great side quests with choices in them. There's military airdrops. There's nighttime specific activities. Nighttime is super dangerous in Dying Light 2. And when a chase happens, how dynamic it feels, where you'll see a zombie break out of the glass right in front of you. You're like, oh shit. And like, then one pops up out of the roof, one comes out another window, and you're just hustling it back to a safe zone. It's tense. It's consistently tense, even in its storytelling. That's one thing that I saw was getting hammered by a lot of these reviewers. This is the issue I think you have with a choice-based game. Some people may not like the outcomes. I thought the choices were respected on a gameplay level for sure, but on a narrative level, it's always up into question because none of us have nearly enough time, no matter how long the embargo is, unless we dedicate like 200 hours to it, replaying the game. That's going to be community decided. And I said that in my review. I don't know. I felt my choices were respected, but they do a good job hiding them, right? In so many of these RPGs. The gameplay, though, I'll wrap it here. What I love about the choices is you'll go to like a water tower and you'll say like, okay, I'm going to give the water to the survivors. And you'll get a gameplay perk for them. So now you have launch pads all over the open world city in areas that the survivors control.
Nice.
But if you gave it to the peacekeepers, I'll have car bombs instead. So I'll be running away from zombies. I'll be like, boom, like hit the car alarm. And now they all run to it because it's a sound and they blow up.
Oh, that's fire.
So yeah, and there's a whole tree for both of them of I think 7 upgrades. And
nice.
There's a limited amount of sections of the open world. So that's where I think the real choice is. And that's where the game thrives is its gameplay. It's consistently tense. I thought its narrative was tense, which is hard to do in an open world game. And it maintained that through so many of its systems. So I like Dying Light 2 a lot, but it is buggy. It is buggy.
Now you playing something else.
Yeah, I'm playing something else. Mr. Mainstream over here is playing Sifu. I can't talk about this one yet, though. The embargo, but I'm playing Sifu. We'll talk about that next week. I know. We'll chat. Yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Nice. Good list, man. Good list. I love it.
Yeah, on both sides. All right. Let's get it started with Frank Tobia for question number 1. Hey, Dukes. I just joined the Patreon last week. I'm a longtime listener of Maddie and ACG, who started watching Last Stand Media when Defining Duke was created, and I finally decided it was time to support the show a bit. Maddie, not sure if you remember, but I helped you out with one of your KOTOR videos when the community was speculating on the developer, and also was going to hook you up with a spare Xbox Series X pre-order before Dustin was able to help you out. Okay, my life story is finished. Time for the question. And yes, Frank, I absolutely do remember. Thank you for that. Microsoft has shown they are all in on gaming by investing almost $70 billion. Does it put more pressure on Xbox to hit their quotas? Let's say 3 years from now, Game Pass numbers aren't as high as Microsoft expects them. Could they start forcing Phil's hand a bit more on things? We already saw them try to raise the price of gold by $60 a year. I'm concerned that some of the studios that don't pull the big bucks or are just a lot of players on Game Pass could be forced to move to things to do like COD. This would be an odd sense of poetry since that's exactly what happened at Activision. Too long didn't read. Are you guys concerned about Microsoft executives wanting more control over Xbox decisions due to the ABK acquisition? This is a really good question because now Phil, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, he's at that table now, right? We're going to see that stuff included in the quarterly earnings for Xbox. So I do think there's more financial implications here. Xbox isn't the play toy anymore, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some valid questions here. And I think where I stand on it is the Activision Blizzard portion, especially Blizzard, because there's so much turmoil in that building from a human resource standpoint. And then also, I don't think we talk about much about on all of the Microsoft Activision discussions we've had. the unionization aspect, right? That is something that seems to be still not going away, and they're going to have to make a decision on where they stand with that now that they, well, hopefully, eventually, if the deal goes through, own them. So I look at it like that. To his question, I don't see a situation from a game development standpoint, right, where they go in and say, hey, we want you to do this, right? You're going to be assigned this. I do think it will be collaborative because let's be honest, all eyes are on them, right? All eyes are on them not to, make everything the COD studio kind of thing. So you got that aspect. The thing that I'm actually fearful is different, kind of alluded to, but with Game Pass in this sense. They still. I watched Maddie's video, by the way, on Xbox Live Arcade and all that stuff, right? So Gold, Xbox Gold, excuse me.
Right.
So we all know Xbox Gold is what Xbox Gold is, right? So, but we also know there's still so many people still on it, right? They got to figure out a way to get people off of it, and to me, that's the bigger issue because they saw the backlash when they tried to do the switcheroo, and then they had to move it back. And I think at some point, there's still going to have to be a hard cutoff or a hard nudging to that group because there's more of them than there are Game Pass subscribers. And Game Pass is where they want to be. So I think that's the pressure. They got to figure out a way to somehow kill this thing, yet not upsetting the base, which is really upset. And I think I don't know how they navigate that part, to be honest. As far as the game stuff, I'm curious about where you stand as far as influencing decisions and long-term stuff in reference to the question.
I think of our conversation with Graham Smith. I think of what we've read about Xbox, trying not to publicly say like we're not trying to push this idea of multiplayer and Game Pass. And I think what's going to happen probably is anyone who's owned by Xbox will have their own decisions on what they work on. But I think the deals that Xbox makes in the future can be more live service focused. You're not going to see them. We still, in the early days, we haven't seen them go like, we're getting a true single player game for Game Pass day one. That's like AAA, big budget, right? It's always co-op. It's always multiplayer. And I get why. So if we're seeing that now, I think that's going to be like the prerogative then, like live service only. Get something that generates revenue, that generates a player base, that brings people together. That's what we need. I think that's what's going to happen. Like those third-party deals are always and forever going to be live service, multiplayer driven.
The evidence is there. I know we'll have more questions talking about that specifically. Sure. I think that it's part of their identity and it's part of, we have to be real. The numbers say the engagement is there, right? The numbers say. So corporations going to corporate and they're still going to want to get that. Now, where I have hope is with the studio acquisitions, the in-house acquisitions, the Obsidians, the Elder Scrolls, they have been put in position to say, no, you do your single play, you do your Hellblade, your hashtag just one style kind of thing, and we're going to facilitate that. But the question, which will remain, is moving forward, I'm with you, Maddie. Like, I do think third-party deals are always going to lean that way. Yep. If we're going to put a percentage like 80 to 90% going to lean into, at least at a bare minimum, some type of cooperative aspect, something, right? Because that's the type of ecosystem they seem to be building, as well as others are trying to.
We'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Rick Davis writes in, hey there, Duke dudes. So while mergers and acquisitions have been completely dominating the news cycle and discussion space, I thought a fun and humorous little exercise could possibly help change things up. So what I was thinking is take the entire LSM family and assign them a JRPG style class, whether it be using the Final Fantasy job names or some other series, and why that would be their role. Personally, sticking with the Final Fantasy names, I think Cog is absolutely the party monk and would punch enemies to death. This one seems pretty cut and dry to me. What do you guys think? As always, thanks for the brilliant content. DD and ILP are my favorite podcasts.
Oh, salute.
There we go.
This is difficult, man.
Here, I got you. I'm going to link you a Final Fantasy class log here.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see.
Now, I coincidentally found from Final Fantasy Tactics, there's a class called Onion Knight. I will be the Onion Knight. It says has no abilities but can equip special equipment and various abilities based on other jobs. A chameleon, if you will. So I'm going to be the self-acclaimed Onion Knight. I think that's fair.
Okay. I think as much as I like the monk and there's a lot of my personality in it, there's a ninja class. Come on, bro.
Yeah,
You know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? So that right there. All right. So we gotta let's keep it. Let's do. You want to do sacred symbols, boys?
Yeah.
What we doing?
Yeah.
All right. Ooh. All right. So let's start. All right.
Colin's maybe a Beastmaster. It says controls other monsters, right? And he's like the head of the pack here.
That's bars right there.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
I feel like there's something poetic about Colin being the
something
Beastmaster.
poetic about that. And there's something. Who got the highest mental ability? You got to look at somebody whose intellect is very high. But yeah, if we can't do that, we can put Colin on that. What we doing for Dustin though? What we doing? I'm curious. What we doing for Dustin?
Dustin should be the summoner. Summons huge monsters to fight, right? Producer, coordinating. I feel like Dustin's got to be the summoner.
Let's see we go. And then what we doing for Ray Gun?
Thief.
These steals from the enemy? That's it.
You gotta
give him some charm stat. Give him a charm.
Yeah, but he's nimble. That's what I was thinking. Like I can see him dashing around.
But that's all he doing is Steven.
Yeah, it's not really fair to Chris. He dancer.
Let me see. What dance?
Just his dances to cause effect.
you doing him dirty, man. They gonna hear this. This gonna get back to them.
Okay, how about? Oh, you know what? I think I got a good one for him. Yeah, Red Mage. He casts white magic. Chris is a healer. He heals by comedy. Yes.
Yeah, can cast white and black magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got that duality.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
yeah.
I like that.
All right. We got Micah. We gotta get Ben.
What are you feeling for Micah?
Micah's she's a sweetheart. We gotta do something very. Let's see now. I'm feeling because she's. I don't know why I'm in this mage part with her, but no, use magic to harm to cause effects. This is tough.
I'm kind of.
What you leaning towards?
Mime.
All right, where's mime?
Just says copies the last action by an ally. I don't know why though, but just I feel I've learned through the LSM Discord she likes Patrick with boobs. I've learned that through the LSM Discord that she likes wet socks. A lot of quirkiness to her. I feel like a mime is just.
But she's copying the last action. No, she feels like very unique.
I'm just thinking. What is the quirky class here?
Okay, you think from a quirky? Okay.
I
would definitely think the quirky class. What? Let's go.
Well, I found Chris's class. We missed this one. Bard
sings the cause effect. He's a charming fellow.
Yes.
And
he can sing.
And he can sing. Yeah. Bard might be the go.
Yeah.
And then Ben, we gotta have something for Ben.
So wait, then that opens up Micah for Red Mage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, we could throw her back. Yeah, cast white and black. There's duality there. If she's listening, that is actually perfect. Moving on. If you listen to ILP, y'all go. The people that listen to ILP when I have Mike on go understand that one. But that's great. Let's see. I need something.
Ben the Mayor.
Ben is like. He's like the master of ceremonies in a way. You know what I'm saying? He gets things done. As little special could. Hold on. Wait, who we gave the Onion Knight?
Me.
Yeah, we gave that.
I decided for myself. I could be something else.
No. Because he does such various abilities based on other jobs, but
scholar?
All right, let's see. Can look at enemies.
Ben's got a good read of everything. Now,
to be honest, I might have gave a scholar to Dustin, though. I know he's very analytical, man. He looks at the enemy. Bro, I'm giving you scholar. That's what I feel. I call you a shadow broker because he really is analytical the way he analyzes the industry and people. He knows what's going on. He's got his finger on the pulse of things. So he's looking at the statistics of the enemy.
How about we make Ben the Geomancer? It says uses spells related to the battlefield. My man's always at sea, right? Like, he's traveling the world digitally, and so I could rock with that. It's a great question, Rick. Thank you for writing it. All right, let's see here. We got Tick Dickler writing in next. Hey, Dukes. It's been reported that some Xbox engineers at Microsoft are being poached by Apple. It could be for new 120 hertz Apple TV, but given that they never announced anything in advance, I'm starting to think COG might be onto something to look in that direction. On top of being the only company valued in the same area code as Microsoft, unlike Amazon, Google, and Facebook, they actually have good execution when they do new things. They could also hypothetically buy Sony outright with less than 2/3 of cash on hand. What's a gut check on where Microsoft really sees future competition in the gaming space?
Great question. I ain't saying your name, but great question. But no, shout out to Tick Dickler. But here's the thing, man. I think he's onto something in the sense that we talked about it with the Microsoft Activision thing, and we talked about. I'm of the mindset, even though I feel Call of Duty will eventually be exclusive when the contractual agreement, the marketing agreement is up. Mm-hmm. I can see a scenario where the regulators come in and say, hey, that has to go multi-plat to PlayStation, whatever. But I'm saying that to say this. The way I look at it, if you notice right now, we're going to talk about what Sony did and what I think it's Microsoft's best interest, and King's going to hate that I say this, to not destroy Sony. It's not in their best interest, because if you completely destroy them and rip everything away and everything keeps going on in this same pattern, their valuation goes down, and then eventually they're going to start looking to be acquired, or someone's going to look to swoop in. And I think it's not to Microsoft's interest for Apple to be that, because of the resources and everything that they control. And I do agree with them in the sense that, they can throw a lot of money in studio heads. So I think that's what's going on here. And I feel I listen to Sacred Symbols. I do agree with Colin in the sense that I feel like there's a lot of olive branches being kind of extended between these two for the first time, Microsoft and Sony, because the bigger war, think of like Game of Thrones, like the bigger war is the White Walkers, right? Mm-hmm. You guys could be battling between, King's Landing and Winterfell all you want. But the reality is Google, Tencent, Amazon, Apple are outside, and they don't really have gaming sensibilities. They're learning. So to me, the best thing is you actually acquire someone like a Sony and you bring them in. You give them all that. Microsoft does not want that. Yeah. That is a huge threat, as big as Microsoft is to them. So that's where I'm going with it.
It's perfectly put, because it does put them in a position where, the speculation is the $3.6 billion that Sony spent on Bungie. Like, that's around their cap, right? They may go a little bit above to 5, maybe 6, but they're not going to go to the 68.7. We're not going to see them do what Microsoft did. That's the speculation. But you get PlayStation in-house, you let them Apple brings PlayStation in-house, and then you start looking at a competitor that can be like, oh, what? 50 billion? Yeah, we can do that.
WB? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? It opens up a can of worms that, let's be real, Microsoft doesn't want. They want the pop when they get the big announcements, right? Because even with the Bungie one, there was a pop, right? It wasn't as big, it wasn't as loud. I'm not saying that because of our fandom at all, by the way. It's not to dismiss it. It was surprising. I was very excited and interested by it, but it's not the level of Activision. And Microsoft, they love announcing things. They love revealing things. They love being at the heart of the excitement. Like, they had people cheering them on as they bought the shittiest company in gaming, right? Like, that's astounding goodwill.
How crazy is that, right?
Yeah. So I don't think Microsoft wants to get rid of PlayStation as much as people who own the boxes believe that's to be the case. And Cog, you put it perfectly. There's nothing else I could really add beyond that.
Good, man.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Chime. Kick off 2022 with a better checking account with no monthly fees. Ladies and gentlemen, at the start of every new year, we start to reflect a bit. Should I start that new gym routine? Should I finally sign up for Xbox Game Pass? What of something like Knights of the Old Republic? Is it time for me to listen to Maddie and start playing that game? But the best advice I can give you is to sign up to Chime, an award-winning app and debit card that has no overdraft fees, foreign transaction fees, monthly fees, or service fees. I always talk about my girlfriend when signing up for Chime because she was getting slammed with fees all over the place. And when she signed up with Chime, that finally came to a screeching halt. And I'm a big advocate of it because of that. So it's time for you to make your first good decision of the new year and join over 10 million people using Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Duke. That's chime.com/Duke. Banking services provided by and debit card issued by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Get fee-free transactions at any MoneyPass ATM in a 7-Eleven location and at any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. Otherwise, out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply. Sometimes, pay anyone instant transfers can be delayed. The recipient must use a valid debit card or be a Chime member to claim funds. All right, let's hear from Nathan Sains, who writes, "Good day, Dapper Dukes. Out of curiosity, have you ever been to a midnight release of a video game? If so, what was the last one you attended? With the digital age taking over, I haven't been to a midnight release since Skyrim. Being able to converse with people as excited as you was a part of the build-up and hype of finally being able to get your hands on a copy. Which midnight release have you been to? Which was your favorite? And most importantly, do you miss these events? I probably shouldn't have trusted that fart kind of day."
Yeah, that's the shard. We know about the shard. Those are evil. Those are evil. Yeah, man. It's a great question, man. And I know I'm team digital, but Nathan's right. Like, that's the part during the digital age that I miss. I miss that midnight release. I miss that brotherhood. I miss that being out in front of the GameStop. Some memorable ones for me. Recent was probably the Switch and the Breath of the Wild was a movement. That it was like a march. That was a movement. Everyone's getting excited. 'Cause I knew the Switch was going to be. I told people were laughing at me like, "Oh, Nintendo." I'm like, "Look, I'm not even
on the
Nintendo.
Switch, yeah.
Yeah, man, people were like, "Yeah, like that." I'm like, I'm telling you, man, they got to market, and because if they could get a guy like me who was a Nintendo hater from the Wii U, I was like, from the Wii and the Wii U, I was like, I'm not doing that. That is nothing I'm interested in. But I knew that one would hit. But for Xbox, probably Halo 3. I still got that damn helmet somewhere in this room, and that was a monster, bro. It was a monster, and just everybody's online. You're waiting. You form these friendships. You just form these friendships, and it's just gamers in the most communal sense. So yeah, those, because what's happened now in the digital age, you're like, oh, queue it up at midnight, right? It's ready to play from the convenience of your home, but you now lose that aspect. So I do miss that. But what about you? What was some of your favorite launches, any of that stuff?
One of my favorites that comes to mind is Skyrim. I remember Skyrim. We had a play and trade near us, which is a place that actually went out of business because they were selling games early to people, and then there was, I think, a law or something that for every copy sold, they charged them like X amount more and just wiped them out. So yeah, they were gone. But we had a play and trade nearby, so I went to it to go to the midnight release for Skyrim because I always went early because like I just wanted to be online and be with the people, right? Man of the people. And I remember they had TVs set up there and you could sit inside, you could game to kill time while you waited for the midnight release.
Yep.
And I remember playing like Call of Duty and just hanging out with my friends and people who were also excited for Skyrim while I waited for my copy. And that was definitely one of my favorites for sure. Because I just remember that so vividly.
Yeah. And the last one I want to shout out to, you make a good point. Console releases, like those are big too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I remember just
Xbox One.
Xbox
I got
One.
A story, man.
Oh yeah, you got a story for that?
Yeah, dude, I have a picture of me when I don't know what I was thinking, man. I remember being in college and thinking like, why can't I find a girlfriend? And I look at these pictures, I'm like, dude, what the fuck were you thinking? I was wearing like a Flash hoodie, a balaclava, a Rangers beanie, and like Justice League pop pajama pants. I'm like, bro, you just reek of virginity right now. Like, you gotta stop. But anyway, that's what I wore there. I remember bringing out a lawn chair. I was the third person online. I lined up at 3 p.m. I think it was. So I wanted to be there. I held the spot for my boy. He came in around like 4. We waited together. Yeah. I had a book. I had my Vita outside. I was good to go, man. I was good to go. So it was actually, I didn't have my Vita then. I just had books. But it was an awesome wait because that was like a long line and just the excitement was building up. And then we got home, Dead Rising, Rise, best 900p game of all time. That actually might top Skyrim for me. I because of the wait and the anticipation and the goofiness when I look at the photos.
I love it, bro. Those are the moments, man. Those are the moments you never forget. But I love your preparedness because that means you're about that life. That means you knew it's going to be a wait. Let's get the chairs, get the resource, you hold spot for your man. Like, it's a culture. It's literally a culture of midnights and consoles and midnight software releases. Absolutely.
Let's go into number 5, Joe Bell. Hey Dukes, as a primarily single player gamer, odd work, hours, and kids, something I heard in your DDU episode with Graham Smith of Drinkbox raised some red flags for me. By the way, for those who are curious, this episode is available for free on the Last Stand Media YouTube channel. Graham stated that during the negotiations with Xbox to get Nobody Saves the World on Game Pass, Xbox requested that multiplayer be added to the game. I understand that multiplayer is a great boon to Game Pass because it has the knock-on effect of drawing players in through social connections, but I would hate to see that request influence how their studios create. I look at Redfall from Arcane as a prime example. Was it always a multiplayer project, or did Microsoft influence the design? Is this what we can expect from Microsoft-owned studios going forward? I guess time will tell. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this or any other ways you see Game Pass influencing how games are created. Thanks for your always amazing content, Joe. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. Yeah, this is something we've talked about a lot, Cog. We've been ringing the bell on this just because, again, what happened, the reason we've really been clicking away on it is when we said it, people thought we were overreacting. Then we heard a dev say, like, hey, they requested it, like they suggested it, but we know what that means, right? Like they thought it would be a great fit. We know, again, what this all actually means for Xbox. And it was like, yo, look, like they're pushing these ideas a little bit. There's if they think it fits, like they're not going to say suddenly Avowed should have co-op, but hey, there was a rumor that Avowed was going to have co-op. So, like I'm just saying, people got to be aware. They got to be aware that Microsoft's going to be outside going, co-op would be nice in that. You already know what's going to be happening.
We've been on it. We've been on it. Dukes have been on this. And, shout out to Graham who we had on. And, I know it's a small thing, right? And we're not saying, oh my God, the world's ending. Everything they're doing is going to be live servers. But it's something to monitor, something to be cognizant of, because at the end of the day, here is a situation where they have a service and it's to their best interest that more people can play at the same time. Let's be brutally honest, right? That is more beneficial than just a core single player experience. And at the very least, okay, you have a single player game, but maybe there's a mode, right? So that's where we have to monitor it and just to see. And I don't think with Xbox game studios per se.
Yeah,
I'm fearful.
Yeah,
what I'm concerned is indies. And then the number one thing that you've always said is we talk about a thing like a Rainbow Six Extraction, right? I'm talking about the third party Game Pass thing that you need to add to the service, right? In my opinion, they're going to be more apt to go after those type of 3-player co-op, 4-player co-op, this to boost those into from the third-party deals, as opposed to, we just talked about it, man. Remember, we were like, yo, Elden Ring, this would beat them, yo. You know what I'm saying? And that's primary. I know it has a co-op component, but it's primarily known as the single-player kind of thing, those Dark Souls type games. So that's the thing to monitor, because I don't want them to be too lopsided. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get into the big news with, Sony and everything else. Yeah. And I have my thoughts there, but I don't want them to go all the way that way. They have to still maintain the balance of the single player experience. So we got to watch them.
Absolutely. Got a couple more questions that I wanted to add on here because there were some important conversations. Connor Rude writes in, hey Dukes, you guys recently talked about different representations for voice actors, so this maybe is an interesting topic for the show. Shadow Warrior 3 will be a cross-platform game, but perhaps you've played Shadow Warrior 2 on Game Pass. Along with its new release date announcement trailer, we found out the Devolver, that's an easy way to misread it, is replacing the main voice actor, Jason Liebrecht, with Asian American actor Mike Moe. The reason they gave is that Liebrecht is white and they want to correct their mistake of casting a voice actor inconsistent with the hero Lo Wang's cultural background. This is according to PC Gamer. Despite Liebrecht's dozens of memorable roles in all sorts of English language anime and games. This irks me for 3 reasons. 1, in the new trailer, the actor, while I'm sure he's very talented, sounds nothing like how the character is supposed to sound. He's not bombastic or sarcastic like how we know Lo Wang, and overall, it sounds like a major downgrade to a huge part of the game. 2, he says it's kind of racist. The new actor is Korean, while voice acting for a Chinese character in a Japan-inspired setting. Of course, that doesn't matter, but it's inconsistent with Devolver's politically correct reason. Furthermore, let's imagine that they replace the amazing Chris Judge, Kratos' new voice actor, with some white guy in God of War Ragnarok for the same reason. Everybody would be up in arms for a very good reason, because it's fucking racist to replace someone just because of the color of their skin. 3, the entire series is already known for being politically incorrect and offensive when it satirizes both Asian cultures and West's portrayal of Asian cultures. Interested in getting your guys' input, whether you're familiar with the series or not. Maybe I'm in the wrong here, since the YouTube comments and the trailer seem to actually agree with me, which isn't always a great sign. Anyways, keep it up. Really been enjoying the show and hope you two have a lovely and pleasant day. Thank you, Connor. Cog, you want to hop in right away, so go for it.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things we have to be sensitive here. And first, full disclosure, I don't know about this series, right? This is Shadow Warrior. I've never played.
I played a little bit of the first one.
So can you tell me, before I even go into my diatribe, about what you're feeling of the game before I comment?
Yeah, I mean, I played a little bit of the first one. I think it was a PS Plus monthly game, but I played it, and I remember it was sort of one of those on the whim download things, kind of like how I found Rocket League. Like, oh, hey, let's try this, and it ends up being really good. It's a very sarcastic, comedic, a lot of satire, as Connor noted, where you play as Lo Wang, who's this guy with like a sword, a gun, just a complete badass who's killing enemies. It's really fun too, and I believe the second game is co-op. The first one might be as well. But I was just real quick, because I think this will be good insight, doing some research for this topic when I saw it. John William Galt was the original voice of Lo Wang in the first game. Then there was this new voice, Liebrecht, in the second game. And now this is a third new voice. So for perspective, voice changes in this series aren't necessarily unfamiliar, but John William Galt was a white man.
I was about to ask you the ethnicity of John. Yeah, look, this is how I feel. You know, obviously, it's a sensitive subject. We had Mama Micah on ILP, and we actually talked about this stuff. We talked about representation, wanting, you know, to see more of ourselves, whether it be in character creators. And then voice came up, and voice was like, hey, you know, I'm tired, you know, as a person of color or a black man, why aren't there any voices that represent me? There's only like 1 or 2, right? And I get that. So this is what I say. Again, never playing this series. For me, I understand the sentiment by the studio to say, okay, we want to get someone closer to the ethnicity of the main character. However, I struggle when it's already been set up. Like, so basically, you've created a character, you have a voice assigned to it, right? From a consistency standpoint, it does kind of feel weird.
Yeah.
Right. It does kind of feel weird now. It's completely changed. And now you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, I'm a big Splinter Cell fan. And even though the ethnicity wasn't changed, I remember how I felt when it wasn't Michael Ironsides and it was Kiefer Sutherland one year. For, I think it was one of them Splinter Cells. They couldn't get Michael Ironsides for whatever reason. And to me, that's that iconic voice. That's what you fell in love with the game for. Right. So my feeling, right, not that I'm not again, I understand the sentiment. I understand it. Trust me. It's just that now you have a fan of this game that is used to that voice and love it for whatever reason, and it's going to feel like it's been taken away from them. Right. So my thought process in a perfect world is, hey, your new IP that you're coming out with, that you're going to have the African-American protagonist or the Asian protagonist. Let's start from the jump doing it right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's start from the jump, because now you're going to piss off a whole base that's going to like, wait a minute. Listen, forget race. This is just like character. I'm funny when like Optimus Prime is not voiced by like Peter Cullen. I get in my way. I'm like, that's what the voice is supposed to sound like. That's the guy I love. I've already established this connection, this emotional thing. And now you're kind of ripping that from people. So that's where I think kind of what's done is done. You were in that bed already, right? Leave it, provided the voice actor could still do it and wants to do it, right? But just, you know, future characters. Hey, you add in other NPCs, you're adding other co-op characters that of different ethnicities. Then you do it, you know what I'm saying? But at this point, you're already kind of, and Micah made a good point, and she said it on Sacred Symbols, her debut on Sacred Symbols Plus, and she said it on IOP, which is like, I forget the there's an African-American character in one of the Uncharted series. I forget her name right now.
I haven't played enough Uncharted.
And she has a connection.
Yeah,
she has a connection. It's actually voiced by a Caucasian woman. And Colin asked her, and I asked, like, and she's like, look, as much as I would have wanted it, you know what I'm saying? I was actually surprised when she found out it was but she said she did such a good job. At this point, leave it where it's at. But what we're talking about is now for the next set, the next generation. Now moving forward, we know what to do right now.
Next time.
That's all. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. I think you put it perfectly. It's really hard for me to add anything of note to it other than I think it just kind of clashes what this series is and by that I'm not, again, I'm with you. I understand the sentiment, the goal here. I'm with you. Next generation, get it right. But when the whole series is almost at times like mocking Asian culture, and then you're trying to be culturally appropriate, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Is how I kind of go with it. It's like if you want to crack funny at it, then that's your prerogative. But you can't suddenly do this, in my eyes, with this actor and be like, well, see how we support the Asian American community. It's like, well, have you really with your last two games? Again, I'm with you. I think it's the next generation, but that's the only thing of note I feel I could add, because you certainly do a good job representing the conversation there. And we can continue that a little bit more with Michael Buffle.
Let's do it.
Who writes, "Hey Dukes, this question's for Cog, but Maddie, please feel free to share your thoughts. Xbox has revealed its plans for Black History Month with a few really good initiatives, in my opinion. While there's always room for improvement for inclusion, from what I see from Xbox, they are really taking the lead on this in the games industry. With that said, my question to Cog is, if you were a consultant to Microsoft or any other company, such as Sony or Nintendo, what is something that you would suggest they can do to carry over this past month? Thanks for all you guys do, and have a woke up past the alarm kind of day. P.S. Cog, if you were not invited to participate by Xbox, that's a travesty, as you were definitely a prominent voice in video game podcasts."
Thank you, brother. That was really very, very got me emotional. I appreciate that. Thank you. Look, this is a sensitive subject, another one. And let me give someone their roses really quick. The OG Duke, Ryan McCaffrey. I want to give him his roses, because this is how I could only speak for myself as a Black man. I can't speak for anyone else. This is Cog speaking. The reason why I have so much respect for him is that when the whole social injustice thing happened, George Floyd, and we know every tensions were high on both sides. Everybody felt the way. There was a division between a lot of people. But one thing that I respected is we started to see, okay, a lot of corporations started to get behind hashtags, and that's cool and nice. But then as that month went away, what we noticed in the community was like, okay, that was the shot, and you ain't going to hear from you again. You know what I'm saying? So it was a cool hashtag. You took advantage. Cool. What I like is the people who continue to do those type of actions when no one's watching, right? You know what I'm saying? Those are the people I respect to give opportunity. You know how much respect I got for you. And I know it's not even a black-white thing with me and you, but just the fact that you like, yo, Cog, you're the best guy. Like, that touched my heart to do Define and Do. I was like, bro, that's love. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And with Brian, it was another thing for me as well, because, as a kid and you growing up in the gaming industry, you just don't see representations of yourself. So you just want to see. So it's like, I remember, seeing different people. You're like, oh man, wow, hip hop, or this guy. You're like, okay, someone that looks like me. It's just a connection. You're like, okay, we can achieve to do this. Is possible. Because other than that, let's be honest, not to be racial, it's just all white guys. Like, it just, and I have nothing wrong with that. It's just that I just want to see some more people of color, right, in those positions. So anyway, I say that to give Ryan his flowers, in the sense that he's continued that with IGN and Podcasts Unlocked throughout, and he'll have different content creators of color on and on. And I respect that. Now, to the question with Xbox is that I think it's what I secretly try to do with ILP. I try to get all ethnicities, everybody, people from Germany, people from Africa. Like, I try to get I want everyone, because to me, I'm such a fan of cultures that are different from mine, right? So I'm just like, yo, that's dope. Like, teach me, what can I learn about you? You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me is what it's about, because at the end of the day, we all do this, right? That's the unifier. So with Xbox, I do hope that it's not just for the month. We loved when we saw Paris Lily up there. Oh my God, like that. I was like, yo, I've never thought I would ever see anything like that. A press conference, a show with a person of color actually presenting. That was cool. All those guys. I always celebrate champion, but I just want Xbox to not also just chase numbers and who's got the highest subscriber count. Really do your due diligence and look at who the community is following, and also ask other fellow content creators, hey, who do you guys recommend? Keep it going. Keep the conversation going. And there's room for everybody. We all can eat together. That's how I look at it. Doesn't matter what race you are. I am not a person that looks at color, but at the same time, I want everyone to feel that they're a part of this thing that we love.
Absolutely, man. That's beautifully said. For me, it's just about you really touched on it, so I don't know if I'm adding anything necessarily unique here.
Please do, brother.
For me, it's really about what you do when the doors are closed, when the lights are off. How are you moving forward as a person? And obviously, that comes down to individuality. But I think of something like what Xbox did, where they showed after the Activision acquisition, it was very clear what they were trying to do, and they showed the leaders and stuff, and you can see there was a lot of diversity there. And it's like, well, that's stuff that's happening behind the scenes. A lot of those names, like we knew Sarah Bond, we knew Matt Booty, we knew Phil Spencer, but like there were a lot of other diverse people in higher positions. To me, that shows that there was a movement while the lights were off to like, hey, let's address this. Let's make sure we got the right people in the right place, but also that we're representing properly this medium. So yeah, it's definitely a situation there where I just hope that they continue to really push that behind the scenes, because I hope this doesn't come across wrong, so please correct me if it does, but there's a preachiness from a lot of corporations when they're doing like a chest pounding, look at me, look how socially just I am. And it's frustrating because it takes away from, I think, the real cause, and it pushes people away from what this is all about there. It's like, for me, I'm not doing this to like beat my chest, but I've quietly donated month over month to a variety of charities. And it's like, I'm not announcing that on my Twitter, and I almost feel bad announcing it here because it's like, it sounds like I'm trying to prove a point, tell you like, I'm a good person. Look, I'm good. It's like, it's what you do when the lights are off, in my opinion. That's the only thing I can really add to this conversation, I think, of validity.
And that's why I gave you your flowers, because I told you, man, like, I'll never forget, I saw that DM from Mr. Matty Plays, and I'm like, yo, what the hell? Yeah, I want to do the Funny Duke with you. What? Like, let's go. So again, it's what you do when people are not watching, when you don't have to associate a hashtag with it, and it comes from the heart, and people can sense it being genuine. And that's what we just hope these corporations, including Xbox, does.
Indeed. All right. With that, it's time for us to get into the news. Just wanted to add a couple of questions in there because I think they were important conversations, and the audience was super active, so we always want to reward that. Let's get it going with number one. As we all across Last Stand had warned many of our listeners, Activision isn't the end of the road for Microsoft, and PlayStation would eventually need to catch themselves a big fish. Finally, the hat has dropped for PlayStation as they have dropped their organic ways and bought former Halo developer Bungie for the price of $3.6 billion. It was a little bit of a shot. This price is many more times the cost of PlayStation's all-star development studio Insomniac Games, which rang in at the price of $229 million in early 2020. Bungie is now best known for their work on the Destiny series, which is easily one of the most successful live service games around right now, with a startlingly active and engaged player base. It is also one of Phil Spencer's favorite games. Bungie has been around the block, beginning with Microsoft, breaking away from them for Activision in what was to be a 10-year plan, and then breaking away again to establish their fierce independence. That independence looks to be stronger than ever in the latest press briefings, which read less as a celebration and more as a defense, as time and time out, it is iterated that this deal is not about exclusivity. Bungie CEO Pete Parsons writes on a blog post for the company's own website, quote, "We remain in charge of our destiny. We will continue to independently publish and creatively develop our games. We will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Our games will continue to be where our community is, wherever they choose to play." In a Destiny 2 Q&A, Bungie poses the question, quote, "Bungie has future games in development. Will they now become PlayStation exclusive?" End quote. No, we want the worlds we are creating to extend to anywhere people play games. We will continue to be self-published, creatively independent, and we will continue to drive one unified Bungie community. Even with upcoming Destiny expansions like the Witch Queen, future seasons, and even events, Bungie has slammed the door shut on any and all exclusive routes, unlike previously on the PlayStation 4 with the first Destiny. It is a point that is emphasized on both sides of the deal, as Jim Ryan, president and CEO of PlayStation, explains the reasoning behind the deal some more. Quote, "Bungie's successful track record in multi-format publishing and live service games will assist us in realizing our ambitions to take PlayStation beyond the console and increase our potential audience. They will remain independent and multi-platform, will enjoy creative freedom, and their track record in developing massively successful franchises in the sci-fi shooter genre will be highly complementary to SIE's own IP portfolio. This is a strategic step towards continuing to evolve the gaming experiences that we build. Bungie's expertise in delivering a world-class service approach and long-term community engagement, is extremely compelling and will support the development of several future live service titles from PlayStation Studios. Equally, we see the exceptional skills that PlayStation Studios possess offers the potential to enhance Bungie's existing and future IP portfolio. Jim also emphasizes clear as day, without directly saying it, that this is not a response to Activision and Microsoft's dealings when he writes, "We've had a strong relationship with Bungie for many years, and we've spent considerable time with Bungie management team to develop the right relationship that promotes collaboration and knowledge sharing. During the extensive conversations that have taken place over the past few months, it is apparent that Bungie's management is incredibly excited at the prospect of collaborating with the PlayStation Studios team." In an interview with GamesIndustry.biz, both Pete Parsons and Jim Ryan took time to speak more on the deal. Pete found an allure in the Sony Pictures angle, suggesting that perhaps Destiny could be due for some TV and movie presence. For PlayStation, it was the payment for learning lessons in the live service space, as well as the statement to fans eager for more studio acquisitions. Quote, "We should absolutely expect more. We are by no means done. With PlayStation, we have a long way to go. I will personally be spending a lot of my time with Pete and the team at Bungie, helping make sure that everything beds down right and that autonomy means autonomy. But elsewhere in the organization, we have many more moves to make," end quote. Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki shed some light on the matter in a quarterly earnings call later on by stating that PlayStation plans to release more than 10 live service games by 2026, in which the acquisition of Bungie shall aid them in their conquest. The first write-in comes from Under Average Dad for this question. Sup, guys? First time writing in. So yeah, I beat a lot of guys writing in on this, but with the Bungie-Sony deal, what's curious to me is the fact that there was rumors of Microsoft trying to buy Bungie, but they went with Sony. Another thing is, what has Sony gained? Bungie will still act independent and publish their own games. My theory is that this deal is just to share technology. Bungie can help Sony with a first-person shooter, and Sony can give Bungie a support team. Another thing I thought is that still the deal is to show a good guy card, where Microsoft buys publisher and removes games on going to PlayStation, and Sony invests in Bungie, and they can do that when they want. What are your thoughts on this? Take it over, man. I need a drink.
Yeah, that's okay. You've been talking. Yeah, I know you're doing the Lord's work on that one. Oh yeah, listen. This shook up the industry this week. We thought we were done for a while. We just got through the cataclysm that was Microsoft Activision, and then bam, my phone goes up and it's just like, what is happening? I'm in meetings, I can't answer my phone, and it's like, what? Sony did what? Bungie and what? And my first reaction was, oh God, no, they're gonna take Destiny away. At first, I'll be honest, because again, as a guy that preferred to play Destiny on Xbox, and Xbox my primary system, I went through some horror stories, man. I went through dark times. I literally fought the fight. For people who don't understand like timed exclusivity, their version of time exclusivity was the worst implementation I've ever seen. Maps, exotics, you name it, strikes, things that were, it was to the point where the argument was, I'm paying $60 for not the same experience or a less experience on Xbox. And I want to shout out somebody really quickly. Destin Legary. I remember there was, I would say around the Taken King or whatever the big DLC drop for Destiny at the time. Secretly, we had Hulk behind the scenes trying to figure out how are these deals being structured that they keep secretly extending the exclusivity away from Xbox. And Dustin actually challenged at the time the community manager, which was Deej from Bungie. He's no longer there, but at the time, Deej is humongous in the Destiny community. Right. And they were like, yo, Xbox players thought after 1 year, they would get the Hawk Moon exotic, these maps, this, and it was secretly extended. But what's sad about it, you could tell he was uncomfortable. He couldn't talk about it because the deal was already worked out between Activision and Sony, and he couldn't say anything. And what you call it kept challenging. I shout out to Destin Legary if you listen to this. We all, Destiny Xbox guys respected you that you asked that because we knew that was the tough question. I say all that to say this. This deal surprised me. Like we said, well, Defiant Duke Ultimate, which I better listen to with Hulk. Yeah, better listen to that. That is on fire. That's one of our best breakdowns of this whole thing. But I was surprised because historically, Sony always get something from an exclusive nature out of these type of moves. So as we're joking with this organic talk, one, this is not organic. Let's just state that off the top, right? Okay, we Common Boys can stand down on me now. Like y'all was coming for me, but this is not organic in any form. You did not start with Bungie. You did not, none of that. But they provide a service. They provide something that you lack.
PlayStation saw value, so they bought something they found valuable. It's okay.
Exactly. And to Colin's credit, he predicted this might happen. This is what his fear was, a chain reaction of events, that they would be forced to do something. Because the reality is this. We don't know what's going to happen with Call of Duty. I have my predictions. But in a world where Microsoft decides to say, you know what, your deal's done. Call of Duty is now exclusive to Game Pass and the Xbox ecosystem. PlayStation is now in a position, let's be honest, with their pants caught down, because they thought that was a reality that could never happen to them. We don't need to make multiplayer games because we have the best hashtag just ones. And you know what? We'll pay the marketing for Call of Duty. We'll make the casual think that it's, you know how casual do. He just sees the PlayStation logo. Yeah. Oh, Call of Duty is exclusive to the PlayStation, right?
It works.
So exactly. So now, just push them in an uncomfortable position. You've got to do something. Bungie makes sense. People can hate Destiny all they want. But when it comes to the pure shooting and gun mechanics, these are the creators of Halo. The reason why Destiny players are fanatics and stay with it is because it feels so good. Their art design and all that, and then the fact with live service. They are the most successful. People always tell me, like, oh, the new Destiny killer, it's over for you, Cog. This is coming, and Division Anthem's coming. I've been through them all. I've survived them all, bro. All you Destiny killers keep coming to me. Who's still rocking for 10 years? Who's still up in here in the top 10 of most games played?
The best it ever has, yeah.
It's rocking. And for the hardcore, we're like, wow, this is amazing. We don't even feel there's that much content right now until Witch Queen. But I say all that to say this. Great overall move for Sony. Great overall move for the foundation of Bungie and Destiny as a franchise. They're gonna have resources, they're gonna put stuff, and it makes sense because the reason why it doesn't, as much as I had predicted Phil would do this, because I know how much it means to him, the Sony deal makes more sense, man. You're talking motion pictures, you're talking all this stuff. The director, Luke Smith, Mark Noseworthy, they're now the Kevin Feige of the Destiny universe. They want this thing to go out, TV's movie. That Sony can provide that, No Way Home, all that. And then you're talking the big play, which is, I won't take your program. I know you're going to go spot.
No, please keep going.
But the big play is, as much as I give Microsoft a lot hard time, hashtag just one, I give Sony the smoke this hashtag just two. Where's your soul comms? Where's your kills? Where's your multiplayer in-house studios? You don't have that. And this is what they get to gain. To the question, they get to say, Bungie, you've got this world-class experience with MMO live service and shooting mechanics in game. How about you help, these new projects that we got going on? How about you, hey, maybe there's a multiplayer component in the game that we're thinking about from Sony, whatever, Sucker Punch. Lend your talents over there. So now in-house, the only thing that I will say that there is a concern is I've never seen a deal like this where Bungie literally controls what Jim Ryan is saying, everything in the future for them is going to stay multiplayer. Everything like that is unheard. That is negotiation 101. And I think, like Hogue alluded to, their bargaining, yesterday's price is not today's price. Their bargaining position went up because these deals happen 5 months in advance. But we do know sometimes to finalize it, if Bungie say, hey, I want 3.6, I guess, we give you 3. We all know about this exclusive thing. Then you see that Call of Duty deal go down. So, Pete, 3.6? 3 points. Oh, get it done.
Yeah.
Maddie, I'll leave it to you. I got more to say, but I'll leave it to you because I read.
Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant move for PlayStation. You look at what Xbox has in the FPS space when you look at Halo, Doom, now with Activision, Call of Duty. You also look at maybe even Fallout. You want to look at a broad spectrum. They own first person. They are the first person box for a lot of people. This, to me, is a bit more of a defensive acquisition. Keep it away from Xbox. We know the rumor has been. We don't know if it's confirmed, but we know the rumor was, and it wouldn't surprise me. Xbox was sniffing around Bungie a little bit, right?
Multiple times.
Yeah. I believe it, right? it makes sense. That uniting of those two again would be something incredible, right? I think of what we talk about with fighting games with Xbox and how if I were Phil, I heard because these companies know a lot about each other. Think of it like politics, right? Like US got someone in the Russian embassy, right? Like they know.
Facts.
They know what's going on, right?
Facts.
So Xbox has got some ears on the inside. And let's say they heard PlayStation's making a move for Warner Bros. And NetherRealm's going with them. They're the last fighting game studio producing games for your console because they are that big. If I'm Phil, I'm like, what do we need to do to get them? Because we cannot lose that right now. We need that. To me, when you saw Activision went, any questions that were on the deal, it was like, oh, you want autonomy? You want an extra $2 million? Okay, yep. Done deal. We're going to get this done here for you. I think that this pushed them over the finish line, if I were to speculate. That's what it reads as. Because as I noted in my little write-up, everything that Bungie said wasn't like this is a momentous day for our company. It was like, guard up, like, yo, back the fuck up. It's not exclusive. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Nothing about like the celebration. I guess, yeah, they've been through it, 3 times? So, and they took a NetEase investment. Like they've been through this before. It's either just not a big deal to them or they're just that independent. And one thing we highlighted on Defining Duke Ultimate through Hogue, I don't want to take credit for this, is that with that level of independence, it seems like PlayStation almost doesn't even have the final say. So if they're trusting that this is the route that Bungie will stay on, but come like 15 years, 10 years even, let's say Bungie wants to do some weird wild-ass game that's not a part of the PlayStation game plan, they can't tell them no. They give them autonomy, and that's the danger you play. So, yeah, it does actually make Xbox look like the bad guys because they're coming in, they're saying like, all right, exclusive this, exclusive that, you're with us. We're going to take Call of Duty off the market. I get it, right? But this is why they lock it down, because now they have a say, they have a seat at the board where it's almost like Jim's going to be sitting there and all of Bungie's going to be chatting and Jim's going to sit there and just watch the conversation, right? And when it comes time, they're going to be like, Jim, any thoughts? He's going to be like, oh, well, it's like, okay, thanks, Jim. Thanks. Like before he even says anything. That's kind of what I feel this deal smells of a little bit. Defensive purchase by PlayStation, which again, that doesn't make it bad. I don't want people to think I'm against this at all. Look, if anything, this is likely a response to Bethesda. And, when you make that type of move, the dominoes are going to start falling. So yeah, it was only a matter of time that PlayStation stopped wrapping up the companies that they were already in bed with, Housemarque, Bluepoint. It was time for them to get someone who's sitting out there ready to sell. I got a question for you, Cog. I know you were about to say something else, but is this a fling or is this a long-term relationship? Because they have been owned by Microsoft. They were a 10-year plan with Activision. They took an investment from NetEase and said, we are independent now, and threw shade at Activision. And now they're with PlayStation. How does this work, man?
They have this is probably one of the most polarizing developers, games I've ever seen. If you're, like I said, if you're a Destiny fan, you've been through all type of scenarios with their relationships. And one thing I know based on the history and my closeness, by proximity to the game and to its people and the execs, is what they learned with the Microsoft situation is you don't have ownership, right? You don't have ownership. You don't own nothing. Halo, they own it, and you don't want to just pump out Halos. Okay, so they learned that, right? They leave. Activision comes out. Now, granted, they had Marty O'Donnell, who was part of that shareholders stuff, and he started to see some of the tea leaves early that Activision had tendrils and things that they shouldn't, and that they were going to be influenced and start pumping things out on a 2 to 3 year Call of Duty style cadence. And that is something that went against the internal morals of the studio. We saw the issue that happened when Destiny 2 was supposed to be. Activision wanted Destiny 2 to be released at the time the Rise of Iron DLC came out. It was a big point of contention. They already had a roadmap aligned for them. The problem with Bungie, the game is so big and ambitious, they can't keep up with the demand. They can't satiate it. So what has happened now is then Rise of Iron DLC comes. So that's when the friction starts. You get to Forsaken. Forsaken, an amazing triumph for Destiny. One of the lauded DLCs since Taken King. But then the earnings call comes out, and like we're going to talk about Battlefield, it was one of them situations where Activision was like, we're not happy with the performance. Meanwhile, the game sold crazy. Even the cops agree that the game sold crazy. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, when Luke Smith publicly goes out on Twitter against Activision and says, no, we are happy with the performance. We are proud. Then you see the public split. Now they leave them and they go independent. The game right now is in a good narrative place, but they still, with the seasonal model, can't satiate it, right? They can't satiate getting content. PvP was in a bad state. There's a lot of things that are still glaring. Anti-cheat was a big thing that lasted just so long. They're a live service team, and they got new IPs. They got this IP, which is supposed to be like a hero shooter called Matter, right? That's a big thing for them. So what I say with all of this is what they've learned, in my opinion, is ownership and creative control. And the reason why I know Xbox guys like, I don't understand, because Xbox was going to offer them probably the same money, if not more, which is probably true. The issue comes down to Microsoft, let's be real, is not, they may say Destiny. Okay, you know what, guys, we're not going to rip Destiny away from the other communities. But you're damn well sure that Matter, that new IP that you got going on, you got to throw that on exclusive for us, brother. You were exclusive. And that's a scenario that is that's not going to work. So in my opinion, that's probably where deals broke down and why it never moved forward, because Phil loves Destiny. Hardcore guy. That's his favorite game. He's publicly mentioned it. And with Pete and these guys, the thing that Sony's got to be careful. I know we're talking Xbox side here, but Sony's got to be careful is that the way this deal structured, the way Hulk broke it down, they cannot influence Bungie to do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like if Bungie says, we're going to make a blah, blah, blah weird game for whatever platform, they have the last say. Even Hulk said legally he's never seen a structured deal like this. So it could present a contentious relationship later. I'm not putting it could work out fantastic. And that scenario never happens. But that's something they have to be cognizant of. And I just think Bungie's at a point at this stage with the relationship. No man gonna tell them where they could go, who they could talk to. If they want to go out on a Friday night to Club Luna, they want to go out on a Saturday night to Club Stadia. No man is gonna. That's what you paid for. This is the independence, and you're like, okay, babe, can you get in there and clean that house over there? And these rooms over here need live service, and that room needs a shoot. That's what this seems to be. And the last point I'll say, which is interesting, they have created a scenario. But let's be honest, none of the other PlayStation game studios can do that. So they've created an uneven scenario.
I was going to get into,
where one studio, Bungie, hey, I'm the favorite, you know what I'm saying? I'm the favorite daughter around here. I do what I want. I'm the favorite child. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where they got to be careful. But to be honest, I don't anticipate problems. I think this is going to work. I think everybody's going to get what they want. All I care about, honestly, Destiny. Xbox fans, you got nothing to worry about. The game's going to stay multi-plat. Matter most likely. I know people are like, until I see Destiny 3, because Sony could do so. I feel it. That's an honest concern.
I believe them. It'll be multi-plat. Like I think they've said it enough times where it's like not just in the fine print. It's all over.
When Jim Ryan comes out and say our theory, like for them to be multi-plat, that statement you read, like that is mind-blowing to me. That means Hulk said it best. When that's the first bullet point, it comes off defensive, but that's literally what's negotiated. That's the priority of order. So that's what I got with it. But it was definitely a crazy move. I mean, like a big, massive move for PlayStation. And it goes to show you this thing, we have to stop thinking in the console space. You said it well in Ultimate. And you turned me around it. You're like, COG. Spartacus, subscription. Now, where they can play that is say Destiny maybe day and date on Spartacus, like how, you know what I'm saying? They could do that. And then Game Pass, Destiny will never go on Game Pass. It'll be on Xbox as a platform, but you're going to pay $60. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. But go on.
No, it's exactly that. Just tailing off what you said with Spartacus, I think there's two prongs to the play here. And that's what sucks about these long-term conversations is because I know like people are going to leap on what I said initially. Like, oh, it's defensive. They're going to be like, fanboy fucking doesn't like this shit. Of course.
Boy, didn't clip him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I still got to find that clip. I'm kidding. But Spartacus is, I think, the heart of this deal. And that's why it doesn't make sense to a lot of us. When we saw no exclusivity, we're like, let's be real, especially on this show. We've said it. Hey, PlayStation, when they make an acquisition, they're locking it down. So Xbox certainly can, and here they are not locking it down. It doesn't make sense. It's against their prerogative. It's against everything they've done for years. And it's because there's a thing in there that we don't know enough about. We've heard reports of Spartacus being this 3-tiered service, a Game Pass competitor, back compat's going to be in there. We said at the end of last year, beginning of this year, PlayStation, they got to watch, not PlayStation's watch out, but Xbox fans were feeling it in 2021. Watch out for PlayStation this year. And this is why.
Oh, yeah.
Look how things are going to start rolling because GT7, now you're looking at Horizon, Spartacus. Then if Spartacus starts to say like, yo, these Destiny expansions, yeah, we're not doing exclusivity, but value proposition is just as appealing. It's money saved. So if they're like, for every PlayStation Studios owned title, DLC is free. So when Horizon gets an expansion, when Witch Queen or whatever comes out afterwards comes out, it's money in your pocket. You don't got to spend it. You don't got to spend it.
Lightfall, The Final Shape. Those are the names of the DLCs. I've seen the roadmap.
Yeah. Obviously, there's got to be a clear benefit to the PlayStation community. There is one for PlayStation as a brand with their 10 plus live service games in development that are going to come out by 2026. Hey, look, it's funny how things are working in reverse. We saw Xbox set up the Forza Horizons, the Halo Infinite. We saw them set up Sea of Thieves. We're like, man, where's the single player stuff? It's on the way. PlayStation, I think we're getting a little bit of a reverse. We're going to get our God of War Horizon this year, and for years to come, you're going to see a mixture of these service games. Why are they doing this might be the question for people. It's to sustain what they're doing now. Game development's getting more expensive. These subscription services are why you're seeing them start to roll around. Sustained income, knowing what you're going to make, gradual organic growth. I'm not saying that one sarcastically. That's what it's all about. And when you got service games that when they come out, your first month and your 14th month are wildly different in revenue, and that ball gets rolling, man, you could build a lot of games off of just a couple of successful months of these live service games if they're really popping off. When you got Destiny, and now let's not ignore this, right? We talked about this with Call of Duty. We said, well, they could sell it on PlayStation. They get a cut of that pie. Think of what PlayStation is going to get with every cut of whatever's bought within Destiny, the expansions now with Witch Queen coming out. Yeah, you buy something on Xbox, you're helping PlayStation. Like, and I need to throw out there because we talked Spartacus. Bargaining chips. Let it be known, this is a bargaining chip. Xbox was about to wield COD as a cudgel and beat them over the head and be like, take that Game Pass. Take it, goddammit. What about now? We got Bungie. You want Bungie games? You want the DLC? Like, okay, let's get our subscription service on the platform. Obviously, right now with just Bungie in tow, it doesn't make as much sense. But if we're talking the free DLC and stuff, there might be value to bring that to Xbox, right? Or Nintendo. I mean, it's a crazy world. I'm done acting like things can't happen anymore. After the Activision thing occurred, to me, that was a sign. We can make sound predictions, and I think they can be well reasoned, but we cannot figure out what the next domino to fall will be, unless you're Sav, who picked out that.
Unless you're Sav, who picked, who I couldn't believe had a clip and exposed us. But shout out to Sav.
That shit was so funny.
It was so good. It was so good. Listen, man. The other thing too is you said it perfectly, which is like, that bargaining chip, that negotiation. Like, look, we're letting it go everywhere, Microsoft, right? And the thing that we got to think about too is Jim Ryan. To me, Xbox fans, to be honest, I think that the core base is not worried, right? Because they realize this is going multi-plat. They'll be fine, right? But this is a warning shot. Y'all were popping bottles last year. You had a great year. You start off with this Microsoft Activision. Oh, it's over. I get it. I get it. Y'all listening to King and his prophetics. I get it. Y'all happy. The Xbox Nation, they're all the zealots. I get it. But I'm telling y'all right now, I told y'all Sony's coming with them games this year. You see this, right? You're like, okay, Kyle, but that's just this. Okay, but look what your man said. More to come. This may not affect you, but what happened if it's Capcom? What if Square's next? What if something? And here's the other thing that Xbox community got. Again, you're popping bottles. You wake up now. It's time to get back into a new season, because at the end of the day, this is how I feel. Microsoft has to do everything in their power to look nice in front of the feds. While this Microsoft Activision, come on, Maddie. The feds are watching. They are all antitrust aspects are gonna. This is one of the most largest deals. King, Blizzard. Then the fate of Call of Duty. They may say, hey, you may have to make some concessions here. You're doing too much, right? So Microsoft's got to play nice. Oh, look, here's our books. Here's everything. This is how we're going to do it. Lawyers are, So they got to be wrapped up. I will be surprised if Microsoft is still able to buy something during this phase, because in my opinion, and I could be completely wrong, I know nothing about the legality of this. It's probably a whole question. In my opinion, you kind of got to lay low until that deal closes. That's 18 months. And here's the thing. If you're laying low in 18 months and you now set off this warning shot with an aggressive competitor that's looking to respond to get stuff in their subscription service, WB, everything's on the table. Sega just say, oh, we're ripe for acquisition. We streamlined our arcade division. They may be in a position where they can't really act until the stuff is done. We saw what happened with Bethesda. They laid low. PlayStation did all the acquisitions last year. Remember? We were like, yo, where's Xbox at? They had to wait to finalize. But that's my thing that I just want to put out there in the universe. Expect more. This is a crazy year. It's February, just 1 month in, and we already got all this craziness. Get ready.
I have an interesting thought that came to me while you were speaking.
Let's go.
Remember when Xbox announced the deal for Activision? They're like, oh, we're third in revenue behind Sony and Tencent. Would this not put PlayStation in a position where they have to be the ones who behave currently?
Good question.
I mean,
Good
it's
question.
just a genuine question, because it could be one of two things, right? Or Xbox could be the vulnerable ones while the Activision deal's pending, and they're sitting there watching, saying, oh, I hope you don't get WB because we need that fighting game studio after.
I feel you, but the only thing is when Jim and Herman are saying we're not done publicly, that's a different energy. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, it is interesting. They got to get this done, but yeah, Sony technically is number one in revenue, right? So technically they should be getting looked at just with as much scrutiny or as Microsoft. But I don't know, man. Listen, the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months, and then we already hear shout out to Grub, shout out to a lot of people. They're saying, yo, another major domino is about to drop, and no one wants to say it until it's finalized. So get ready. We're in the season, baby. It's like the MLB hot stove. This is hot stove season.
I like this, man. You and I as sports fans, I'm like, yo, we're like there on MLB Network. Like Max Scherzer just signed with the Mets. Like that's what I'm feeling right now. Yeah,
that's how I'm feeling. I come from that sport. Me and you come from that same cloth. I agree, brother. So let's see. This is gonna be. I know some people are scared of it. They don't like it. But this is where it's going to be. And I think, again, net positive. Overall, health of Bungie, health of Destiny is going to be better under Sony. Maybe still get to play it. Let's see what happens with these other games.
Yeah, honestly, this is the best possible outcome for an acquisition if you're an Xbox fan. Like, this is what you want to see. Like, oh, you guys bought a really important... and everything's staying the same. Okay.
Yeah, business as usual.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting fodder for discussion, but like on a consumer level, it's like, okay, cool. I'm just going to keep doing my thing over here. You might have to spend money on the expansions, just like... PlayStation fans might have to spend money on certain games. So we'll see how that all goes. I just want to talk with Brennan Horton real quick, and then we'll move on to our second news item.
Yes.
Hello, Destiny Dukes. With all the recent acquisition moves, I was thinking about who could be bought up next. And it occurred to me, people have quit throwing around CD Projekt as an option. Setting their reputation aside, this is a company with around 1,000 employees and generally good design jobs. So if CD Projekt were to go off somewhere, where would it go? I submit my own proposal. Embracer Group plus CD Projekt forms a European entertainment monolith that, if allowed by European markets, could be bigger than EA or even Tencent. CD Projekt Red doesn't own their IP, so they would be perfect to work on the back catalog. But what do you guys think? Thanks, and have my favorite game just got bought by the rival corporation kind of day.
We could be having those types.
See, here's the thing, man. People were clowning us a little bit on the idea that we were talking mid-Activision episode, the week of the news. We're like, who's next? People are like, yo, these Dukes, man. They can't just...
That's the problem with the Dukes.
Yeah, this is their issue. They're already speculating about, what up? What up? Tell me what's next. Come on. It's going to happen. It's going to fucking happen. There's more. It's not going to stop. We were ahead of the game. I'm telling you right now, I got to stroke our ego a little bit here, because when people come at us, I'm like, all right, stay humble, stay silent. But then another domino falls and another one's going to fall. We're speculating because this is where the industry's heading. We get that a lot of people don't want it to happen. It's part of the acceptance process. We get it. There's a grueling process there. Frustration, anger.
5 stages of grief.
Get it out on us. That's fine, man. Calm the voice sound off. That's fine. But Todd, who's next?
CD is so weird to me, though.
Hey, that's a perfect, we'll fix them up target for Xbox.
Yeah, that's definitely a project.
They're too good for Game Pass. Forget it. I'm sorry.
They're too good for Game. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then Nevada, we saw the leakage. I don't know if you saw. I know you saw it, right? The leakage on the store about what they plan to do with Cyberpunk.
I told you they're gonna.
Who called that? The Dukes.
Yeah,
the Dukes called it. You said it. You're like they clearly not over, but they clearly value themselves a little, much when they think they're gonna bring this broken game back out and then recharge. Okay, fine, we get it. I don't know with them, man. It's like, and you know what I think? At first I was like, all right, Sony. But then I was like, they just got blacklisted off their store. How embarrassing is that? Like, you don't meet the quality of our store.
Yeah.
Get out of here until you clean up and
76
get
and Anthem didn't have that happen either, by the way.
That is unprecedented.
76 at launch, I think it was worse than Cyberpunk in a lot of ways.
Facts. It's just like, so I don't know what I'm going to defer to you on this one. I don't know, man. I know Xbox had the marketing deal, but do you think?
It's tough. Like, yeah, I could see CD Projekt being a target, but like for me, when I look at like Ubisoft's always the name that flows around. Like they're kind of trending down. They need some help. But then I wonder about the companies that trend up, like when Bethesda as a whole went like very service approach to bloat their value because people were buying microtransactions, so they were able to sell for more. So I look at a target like Capcom, which is technically doing better than ever right now. So do they need to sell because they're like, yo, this is our highest value. We're about to sell for $10 billion as a Japanese company. Like, let's do this deal. So it doesn't matter, I think, of a success. I think, yes, like if you're not doing as well, you're more pressured to sell. But we've also seen with Activision, 45% over each share. Like you can get a premium value when you're at your worst. So I don't know if you're doing good or not. I think it is about partnerships, meetings of the minds, addressing needs here. A lot of people always speculate, and I forgot. I think it was Hoku actually said it. Hoku was on fire on our episode for real.
Hoku's on fire. Yeah, please, y'all got to get to this ultimate.
Yeah, he mentioned something that was just because I always spit out, PlayStation, Square Enix. But when he said, well, I don't know if PlayStation gets anything that they're not getting right now by buying Square, I'm like, holy shit, yes, like they're already getting everything as if they friggin' own them pretty much. And so I don't know if that's a deal that they actually need to do. So there's a necessity to it. Again, we got to put it out there. We can't get tired of the one that we want. Yeah. Sega. Xbox and Sega. Sega's trying to do the fierce independence act that Bungie's doing. Like, this super game that they're helping us with, it will be multi-plat. This will not lead to more exclusives. Sarah Bond's going to work on you, Sega. She's going to move her magic on you, and you're going to be a part of the Xbox family. I'm warning you now. See you in 5 years.
Listen,
my guess.
I saw the selling off officially, right, of the arcade division. They streamlined themselves, no longer associated with the Pacheco stuff. I'm still holding on hope. I'm still holding on, and it fits.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
It fits the need, man. It fits the need. The last two, like obvious. I said, it's too obvious. Too much history, the relationship already, and it's a nurturing relationship in the sense of they like what's happening when they put their titles over there and stuff like that. And from the OG Xbox days, this is not something that just came out of the blue. Like Peter Moore was in the building. He was a Dreamcast player. There's relationship here. This is another example of nurture, right? It was relationship. So that's that. I think the only other thing, if they can't figure that out, and if there's any way you can get the licenses with the WB stuff, even on an individual level, whether it be on a Rocksteady and another realm, and maybe just those two, or so, you gotta get your fighting, you gotta get your hero stuff, and that's what I can think of. And also, we're talking about Crystal Dynamics. It makes sense too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next kind of surprise thing, if you will, is like an extraction. Like if I were Xbox, I'm biased on this, or PlayStation, and I could extract BioWare. That's a company that you...
But do you want them, Maddie?
Yeah, of course I do. I want them? Yes.
Sell me, though, because I'm like...
I don't think I can do that. They're not that good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, because my thing is like, the reason why you said it one other Duke ago, and I forgot to comment in. The reason why I interrupted you is because I'm like, are we prisoners of an old moment? Like, are they even the same BioWare that we love?
Maybe we could restore that.
Oh, okay. So your hope is bring back.
I'm taking the restorative aura approach of Xbox. Like, look, we're going to bring back the Ultimate Alliance one days of Activision. They're going to be publishing hits like that. Or BioWare, it's like, look, you guys don't got to answer to EA shareholders now. You're going to work on us. You can make that 30-hour RPG that's replayable. You don't got to put live service in, then pull it out of your game. We're going to start you off on single player. Like, I think BioWare, honestly, would be a much better developer. I don't know if their writing quality will ever reach the days of, like, Drew Karpyshyn, Casey Hudson, et cetera.
Oh, Drew and them.
Yeah, right. Like, that's an era, right? That's a golden era that they'll probably never touch again. I don't know if their writing will ever be good, but their games as playability factor could be much better. And I think that's where the higher ups do play a factor. I think their management, they do need someone who's a better higher up because EA clearly doesn't manage them well. I agree with Colin on that. We had a DDU about it, and we talked about how, like, you know, I think that BioWare is actually lucky that EA is above them in one regard because they had 7 years to figure out Anthem before they revealed it, and they still managed to only churn it out in like 18 months, I think it was. So BioWare
still want them. You still want them.
Yes, because that dude, that's a $2 billion purchase. See you later. Like, that's bring him in house. That's chump change for Big Daddy Microsoft.
No, yeah, for sure. Oh, it's definitely light. It's light work, right? Yeah. I know we go.
I'm biased, by the way. I'm biased.
Listen, I'm biased too. I just want to ask you this question: how did you internalize Anthem? I know we're going along with this, but how did you internalize? Like, did you look at it as like? Because we saw the reports, and a lot of it seemed like they were dilly-dallying. And so is it a thing where it's like you still feel EA forced that on them, and that's not true BioWare? And if they're in the right situation, that they could be rehabilitated?
I think it was more so like they need a leadership that's going to guide them. Like when BioWare said, we want to do this live service game. No, that's not what's going to happen. You guys are a single-player RPG studio. You making fucking multiplayer makes no sense. You made Horde mode in Mass Effect awesome. You're not a live service team. Get back in there and make Dragon Age 4. That's what I would have said if I were them.
You want Phil to crack the whip?
Yeah, absolutely. Do that chest out. And when they are a part of Xbox, they answer to me, CEO of Microsoft Gaming.
That's going to be the statement.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right. Number 2 on the news report. Xbox maybe didn't have themselves quite the Monday that PlayStation did, but they continue to fill the void left behind by Stalker 2 with 2 significant Day 1 Game Pass editions. For the second year in a row, Sony's own San Diego studio will now be developing a MLB The Show game that is landing on Xbox, but also Nintendo Switch this year. Arriving on April 5th for Xbox One at $60 and Series consoles at the price of $70 is MLB The Show 22. Game Pass subscribers won't have to worry about that price tag because, again, Xbox will be putting the game Day 1 on the service for all of us to download. Separately, Sega and the 2 Point Studios team have announced that 2 Point Campus will hit Game Pass Day 1 on May 17th. This move makes sense for both sides. Almost a year ago, Sega, Europe's VP Anna Downing, said that she and Sega are, quote, really happy, end quote, with the results of the service so far, specifically noting that 2 Point Hospital had pushed past 3 million players thanks to Game Pass. 2 Point Hospital, 2 Point Campus will be retailing for $40. Sean Mason writes in, hey boys, with the news that MLB The Show 22 will be launching Day 1 on Game Pass, is it safe to assume that all future installments will be Day 1 Game Pass games? If so, I think this is a huge win for Major League Baseball. There isn't a doubt in my mind that more casual fans played last year's game due to Game Pass's induction. If every future installment were to be day and date, the popularity of the sport could potentially rise. A huge W for the MLB. Best, Sean M.
Yo, Sean, what up? That's the runner. That's the runner right there.
Yes, sir.
Homie. Salute them. Always puts the hashtags up on Twitter. This is good. I like this this write up. Let's start with the 2 moves. Let's be honest.
I can hear you. I just gotta run to the bathroom.
Yeah, go do your thing. If the Bungie thing doesn't happen, right? This would dominate the zeitgeist again because people are like, "Oh my God, MLB The Show is coming back again." Because let's be honest, there was a part of me that felt, well, maybe this is just a one and done in Game Pass kind of thing. That it will stay multi-plat because clearly the MLB wants that. They want this series, this franchise to go everywhere, right? But the Game Pass component, I was like, well, Microsoft may have to spread a little extra bread, and I don't know if they really want that. But clearly, the analytics, the sales, we saw it did very well in MPD. And look, it's the de facto simulation baseball game. I had it on one of my, as far as my Game Pass games, to get when we did that list, Matty. And it's just like, this makes so much sense. And the sport of baseball needs all the eyes possible. I am surprised that it was coming back, but now I got to agree with you, Sean. I think this is a thing. MLB really loves this. And the way they must look at it is all the users and the analytics and the engagement that they have in it. I think there's a a store component, there's a microtransaction component. They see that revenue come in, you get new players invited to the sport, and because it's in this service that literally anybody can get down with for such a low entry cost, you now bring all these eyes to this. That's what MLB wants. The surprise was just, will it be in Game Pass again? I didn't see that coming. And the last thing, and I'm glad you brought this up in reference to the Sega thing, the 2 Point Hospital. I didn't know 2 Point Hospital did. That's actually, by the way, shout out to Hope. That's one of his favorite games. He had it on one of his Game of the Year lists one year. 2 Point Hospital. That's how popular. I mean, people really love that franchise. And now 2 Point Camp is coming. And again, for the people, not to puff our chests out, Maddie, but for the people, it's only cloud services with Sega. There's no games involved. There's nothing about. This is cloud service. This is 2 Point Campus, a cloud service. Like, come on, we gotta be honest. We're not saying it's a guarantee, but you have to look at the tea leaves in the sense of there's a budding relationship that they like, both sides like. And you said this, Anna, she's saying we had 3. I didn't even know they had 3 million players. That's insane.
That was a story I really liked because that was in the early days of Game Pass. That was pre-day one Game Pass days.
Exactly. And so I said all that to give it to you. Like, what did you think? Matt's already pre-downloaded. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go, bro.
No, this is great to see. I love the cover, Athlete, by the way. Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
Perfect pick.
Yeah,
perfect. Right. So that was awesome to see. But, what this says to me is that, from the baseball angle, what a lot of people probably listening don't know is that the MLB in a lot of ways was considered to be dying because the sport is known as, America's purest sport. And when they started to talk about rule changes, which they've been enforcing, like for those who watch baseball, the extra inning rule where they put a man on second to speed up the game. Like baseball has always been a slower, I would almost say methodical sport. Yeah. It's for the patient person, right?
Yes.
And they've been trying to speed it up, change it a lot. They've used different balls that change like the home run count. They're talking about robot umpires so you can get the strike zone right. It's not about the feel of the ump and what zone he's calling and the batter's figuring it out. There are traditionalists that are saying this sport sucks now and they're leaving. MLB is trying to capture a new era. And it's kind of like with superhero games for me and really just any pop culture stuff. For me, I didn't fall in love with Star Wars or Marvel because I watched the movie on the big screen outside of Raimi movies. But like, that was a spark plug, but what made me truly fall in love with it was being the hero, right? Like getting in the suit, playing as, I don't want to say who in case no one's playing it, but KOTOR, man. Like these games created a connection. And even when I wasn't playing sports, NHL as a video game brought me in to the hobby where I was like, now I'm a hockey player. I play pretty frequently. So for me, it's like, that's what this is about. It's a move to expose more people to the sport of baseball, that they understand, the old man's going to be out soon, right? Like when you go to a baseball game, there are a ton of season ticket holders who are just chilling there. It's like another day for them. Like they live in Queens and they just show up to Citi Field. They watch the game, have a hot dog. It's the old man sport in a lot of ways. Not a bad thing. It's a traditional thing. It's pure. That's always what it's associated with. So to me, this move actually echoes that like MLB needs to expose people more and more to this sport. And this is a way to do it because when I fired it up, I mean, the authenticity is just unreal. I forgot, how great of a game this is. But then you can see like at Citi Field, the 7th line. And I'm like, man, that's like the fact that they even got that. That's such a cool attention to detail. And every stadium has that personality. They tap into the fanship. And there's the micromanagement when you're doing the franchise mode and you're choosing like the prices of concessions. There's a lot of cool stuff that's in this game for any and all fans. Like you could just play it casually. You could do what I just mentioned with the franchise mode. So long way of saying, I think this is a great get for Xbox to keep pressing that button. They always wanted their MLB game. And I'm happy they're putting their money where their mouth is, literally. Like they're saying, like, not only do we want it on our systems, like we want people to play this shit right away and like get it day one on Game Pass.
And a good point, it still doesn't fill all the gaps for the first half of the year, but this is a good gap filler, right? We talk about, third party and you're needing something each month, right?
It's not a sexy game, but
it's not but it does well.
Yeah,
it does well, and MLB sees it, and it's the de facto simulation.
It will help them for sure. So
absolutely.
Otherwise, Sega This one, Cog, didn't surprise me. And I'm not even saying it to, pat myself on the back but this is going to see this more and more. Now, here's the thing. Sega got a humble request to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yakuza, Judgment, Persona, one of your 3 big dogs needs to be on my service day one. We're not here just to experiment, right? I'm tired of the Total War, the 2 points. I want your breadwinner. I want Persona. I want this shit now. Like, we gotta okay. If I had one issue with Xbox, it benefits us, but if I'm a business owner, I'm running Xbox, I would get a little annoyed. I'm like, y'all are using us. Like, yeah, you're giving us 2 Point Campus. 2 Point's a great series, but like, where's the JRPGs? Where's the thing that actually addresses a problem with our console? Like, that's what you're there for. I know Xbox. That's why you're shoring up the defense.
Maddie, I hate to interrupt.
No, please,
but Maddie,
stop the roll.
You just moved over to this country. You're Florida. You're dating this girl. We don't know you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do little more things it's like that parent. Like, you know what I'm saying? A very protective parent. Like, you gotta court. You gotta get back to the days of courting the relationship. A couple more days.
Rush the home plate.
You trying to get the first. and they're traditionalists. They may say, you know what? We need to see more. But I'll give it back to you. I do understand your point. It's like, come on, like at this point, like we're seeing it popping. I think, but I think that's my gut as to why it's not happening. But back to you, the Atlas thing still is a little concerning. And I know Saul is probably listening, laughing at this segment because he's like, until I see what Maddie says, but I ain't buying it. So I give it back to you. Like, what's your frustration with this thing?
Yeah, I got to be steadfast in that. It's the same thing with the Tokyo Game Show. I think they're getting better. I always mention like the fact that they're getting the Somnium Files, a visual novel series, day and date, and they have the first one on Game Pass, which if anyone hasn't checked it out, please do. But like the fact that they got that is like a good step forward. But it's like, no, like Scarlet Nexus coming to Game Pass, like that should have been day one. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so many clear, obvious things they need to do, but they're lip servicing me here. Like they really are. And I don't mean to convert a 2 point conversation to the JRPG void that I bang over the head constantly with the show, but I'm excited for this. This is great. I don't know if I'll play it, but this is where Xbox really needs to start driving home what they need. I think it's been long enough to say like, hey, it's time to start bringing Persona to our consoles. Now, I'm talking like they got a new Persona coming out next month, right? Arena Ultimax, a re-release.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Bro, really? Bro, Xbox, no, right. PlayStation, and Switch? Really? Like,
no, bro,
unbelievable.
I just don't think it's Xbox's doing. I think it's the
I go back and forth on it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably them. It's probably PlayStation with some deal. And then I'm like, other times I'm like, is Xbox trying hard enough? Because then I look at the Tokyo Game Show. I'm like, you're not really putting your effort into nurturing current Japanese games releasing. Like they talked about 200 developers. It's like you're working for the future. That's awesome. That's great. But a lot of what Xbox is doing is for the future, right?
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Like 2023 is the year the generation really starts. People are saying. I'm like, the generation started in 2020. Like it's time to go. It's time to move.
I'm with you, brother. I want it just as bad as you. And we know they've got the cash flow. It's just, I just still think it's just this.
Yeah, you're more level headed than me. I agree.
Traditionalist thing, and I'm not trying to make it a racial thing, but I'm just trying to make it a traditional thing where you are the foreigner, you are the outsider. You're going to have to do a little bit more extra for us to really commit. And the X factor is it just feels like, I don't know contractually if Atlas has a Bungie type situation where no one can tell them where their game's going, but it's just weird that why isn't that happening, right? But we'll see. But I am with you. I want it. It needs to happen. I just unsure if it's really Xbox not trying as opposed to Sega saying we got to see more. But
we will see. Let's move on to number 3. Halo Infinite's roadmap reveal has been delayed. Word comes by way of Joseph Staten, who writes on his personal Twitter account, quote, "Hey folks, in November, I said we'd have a Halo Infinite update on our seasonal roadmap, co-op, and Forge in January. We need some more time to finalize our plans, so what we share is something you can rely on. This work is my top priority and we'll have an update as soon as we can, end quote. The last we had heard from 343 was that co-op would ship with Season 2 and Forge would subsequently arrive in Season 3. Cog, is this much of a surprise? The knots are starting to untangle a little bit, I think, over at 343, and people are getting impatient. And I don't know if you saw what was happening with the Cyberpunk cosmetics and how like the mohawk was like clearly off center. Did you see any of that?
I didn't even see that. Wow.
So yeah, there was a couple of cosmetics that clearly looked rushed and off centered. And 343, let's just say they kind of ribbed the audience a little too hard. And let me get the exact quote, but I thought maybe you had seen it. So
they push back.
Yes. Let me get the exact quote. I'll read it to you in a sec. But what do you think of this roadmap delay?
Oh, you do that? Yeah, the roadmap. You know, this is the byproduct of what the Dukes predicted, which is coming in hot, crazy hot. You know, and another season. You know, Season 2, now Season 3. We're supposed to get, you know, whatever, the co-op and the Forge. I just worry that it's like it's so late at this point. They have to be careful with, like, I almost feel they almost need to combine it with like a major story beat or something to really get people reinvented. Not that the base is dead. I mean, the base is still high, but I did hear there was some slight decline on Steam or something like that. You know, there's still some issues there. So you're still fixing the monetization model.
I got the quote.
How successful this thing is going to last is how, like I always said, how adaptable is this live team? How many people are on this live team? How quickly can they respond to issues? And this is an issue. Like, I'm not doing, like, me personally, I'm not doing legendary difficulty until co-op comes out, because I would at least have something for the co-op experience to do. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, this is I'm surprised. I'm not really surprised, but I'm just like, okay, how long is this going to take?
Well, we'll get into that in a second. I just wanted you to hear this quote. I want to get your raw reaction. Eagle-eyed players noticed that 2 armor effects weren't absolutely perfectly aligned with their Spartans helmets, spurring some lighthearted memes. Don't worry though. We busted out our levels and protractors, and we'll get these centered when Season 2 rolls around.
Damn, they got him. Damn, yeah, it's gonna look bad. I mean, I'm gonna be real with you too. Like, I don't know if you saw I know you saw the end of the battle pass track. Like, even the fire effect looks cheap. It doesn't look really like something that's really cool towards the end of the stuff, but you know, I noticed the money stuff that you pay for looks cool. You know what I'm saying? But they got their work to come out. The game is, look, it's fire. The game is amazing. We love it. It's just, if you keep falling behind, you will eventually fall out of that favor, and then the next, gamers are fickle. They go to the next thing, and you know, kind of thing. So they gotta stay on it. I think they will do it, honestly. But the co-op part and those are staples. Those are pillars. You gotta all hands on deck if you can. You gotta get this done.
Yeah, I'd rather them take their time and do it right, but I feel like this isn't going to be the last we see of this. I would suggest Defining Duke listeners be prepared, because this isn't going to be the last. You're going to hear of them saying we need a little more time to finalize. Technically, they're still really behind, because a lot of these features were promised at the launch back in 2020. So once they're caught up with all of that, and maybe they're starting to deliver new content, then they can get into a cadence that may be more fast-paced and accurate. So we'll see when that arrives, but an update on the roadmap nonetheless. Number 4, we talked about briefly. Let's get into it a little bit more. After CD Projekt Red went on radio silence following underwhelming patchwork for Cyberpunk 2077, a next-gen version of the game may have leaked onto PSN. Posted on Twitter by PlayStation Game Size, an account that regularly tracks activity on PSN, is a database entry for a PS5-only version of Cyberpunk 2077. The entry also features brand new official-looking cover art, and it also looks much better, by the way. The last we had heard officially from Cyberpunk or CD Projekt Red on this front was that when they stated they aim to have the next-gen version of the game out within the first quarter of 2022. So the timing indeed seems right.
And once again, the broken record continues. The Dukes called this one again. We do it. You know, when they were a little bit too brazen about, oh no, we're not coming to Game. We never said, not us, Game. We do it. we don't need to deal with that right now because they got this. They go repackage that next gen joint.
They're gonna sell
Super Deluxe.
again.
Did you see the art? I haven't seen they show a box art or something. Can you send me the link? I want to see how that looks.
It looks so much better in my opinion.
It looks way better. And look, the game is going to be fire. I literally still have not played it because I refuse. It's on my hard drive sitting. It gets updated all the time on my Xbox. I always see it updated. And I've not played it until that next gen patch comes out, and then I could see it in its final form. But for now, not surprised. What about you, Betty?
Yeah, I just sent you the link, by the way. But
yep, let me take a look at this.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited for this because it's annoying that they're not going to take the Game Pass route. I already know the blowback is going to be there when they try to sell this again. I've kind of accepted that. I will absolutely crank on them. Don't get me wrong there. But I am excited about the quality of the product potentially because I like the game a lot. I really did. And I know it's a bit of a hot take nowadays. But, I mean, there's a reason it's rated mostly positive on Steam by a lot of people because when the game works, I think it's really, really, really good. And I hope that people have that experience. It's funny because I say all the time that, like, if you're looking for a strong RPG, like, you'd think Cyberpunk, the reason it's praised as an RPG is because of its story. And its story is very good, by the way. But it's actually, to me, like, the gameplay RPG elements are great. Like, there's so many ways to play where you can, like, mind hack people, stealth. I mean, a lot of options. The way they designed the world space maybe isn't the most interactive, but its playground feels great. So I'm excited to see what they have in store for us. I'm not going to overhype it in my head, though, because we've seen how the patches that they've tried to stay in communication, like, please don't forget about us. Please don't forget about us, because they know the games are coming. I tell people all the time, like, the games are coming, and if they don't release soon, they're in this awkward position where it's like, you already shot your load back at the end of 2020 where people were all hyped for you and you were like, yep, let's get that money, right? Now you got the money, but you need to have people see the actual product to have the long-term thing you were looking for. The multiplayer ended up getting canned. We haven't heard word about the anime. Like, your long-term plan got jeopardized because you hustled it. So now you got to get it out again, capture that magic once more of the bounce back, but you have to make sure people are willing to listen to the bounce back. With so many things coming out, it's going to be hard to hear that bounce back when Elden Ring is coming out soon, right? Like, there's so much exciting stuff on the way. And then what you showed us here at the beginning of the show with the games you're playing, there's amazing stuff hiding right beneath our nose that we didn't even know about, right? So there's so many of these awesome games everywhere. They got to capture the magic once more. And if they're selling for 70 and they're probably not going to add a lot of new mechanics, I'd be stunned if they did, because when you look at all the general patches that they kept adding, they're like, here's your new content, a new jacket and a new skin for your car. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Just go away for a while and come back. Because I, as someone who supports them, I'm like, yo, this game's great, but like, it needs work. Come back later. Okay. And they did. They shut up. But then again, that was back in August, I want to say. July was when we last heard from them for the patchwork. It's like, you know what?
Nice city.
That's not enough time for them to add mechanics that people have been asking for, like more world interactivity, going to the bar, sitting down. Like, you're not going to see that. And if they do start showing that, sound the alarms again, because we're going to be going through the same routine that we just did back in 2020, where they're showing things that end up not being in the game. Because I just can't imagine that being fully securely implemented without any bugs and glitches.
Yeah.
At that point in time, it's just not a big enough gap.
I'm with you. And my final thing is, it has to look visually impressive.
I don't think that'll be a problem.
You got to steal everybody back. These next gen features got to really pop off, and then people go, okay. And then I don't see it on the roadmap, but an ideal situation, new content, like a new content drop. Like, not that it's going to be a big expansion, but some level of new content, so it doesn't feel completely like the same for an existing person. For me, it's going to feel brand new because I ain't playing it until it's fixed. But for the people who endured,
yes. Absolutely. And then they got to put it on Game Pass. It's
exactly
enough of that. Enough of that foolishness, CD Projekt Red.
Getting Game Pass to stop it.
All right, number 5 goes to Battlefield. Battlefield 2042 is a better horror story than Bluebird Team's The Medium. I'm out here slandering in this week's write-up. I've just been throwing shots everywhere. I didn't realize I wasn't even in a bad mood. I was just like, oh, this is a little funny. Just type it up. Anyway, let's keep going. What was supposed to be an obvious slam dunk for publisher EA and developer DICE has transformed into a worsening situation. During a recent earnings call, EA stated, unsurprisingly, that Battlefield 2042, quote, did not meet expectations, end quote, Typically, this is publisher drivel that sets a bar impossibly high for any game to cross, like the time EA claimed that the very same missed expectations about Battlefront 2 were there, even though it sold nearly 10 million copies. However, with Battlefield's quickly dwindling player base and plethora of bugs, oh my God, I can't read right now. With Battlefield's quickly dwindling player base and plethora of bugs and issues, it comes across much more genuine. Here's the write-up from the Battlefield Twitter account where they post, "You've waited patiently to hear from us on what we're doing to address the issues of Battlefield 2042 that you have told us about and the direction you expect to see us take in the months ahead. We're taking action on multiple fronts to address feedback and implement extensive fixes to the game, key features that are important to you, and getting team play where it needs to be. After the release of an update in early March, which will include improvements to scoreboards, subsequent updates will prioritize work that will include voice communication and player profile." Let's just stop there. What? Voice comms? Let's keep going. Hold on. Let's keep going. A tighter squad loop, including refined ping system. A fucking staple to this game. What is happening? What
isn't this a multiplayer only game? Like how?
Feedback-based improvements to gunplay, improved reward loop, expanded tools, modes, and tweaks to player experience gains in Battlefield Portal. With a focus on improving these core elements of the game, we've made the decision to move Season 1 to early summer. What the fuck? Season 1. Season 1 in the summer. The game came out in October. October, dude. I couldn't fucking believe it when I read this. Season 1 for a game that came out in October is releasing early summer. We'll see you in June for Season 1 of Battlefield. That's unreal. I'm sorry. That's unreal.
It's real. Wow.
Okay, let's keep going. When Season 1 arrives in early summer, it will mark the start of a year where we'll deliver 4 seasons, 4 new specialists, and new locations, along with more new content. For all of you who purchased the Year 1 pass as a part of the Gold and Ultimate Editions, we know this content is coming later than we expected, so we're giving you an all-exclusive bundle containing a
You're wrong for that. You're wrong for laughing. But it was funny.
Containing a specialist skin, vehicle and weapon skins, a melee weapon, and player card, all to be delivered in the next update.
You're not pumped?
Yeah, this is great, man. I spent like 30 extra bucks on the game or whatever it is, and that's what they get. We're also planning an improved player feedback process with all of you. As we begin working on new changes, including map design, we'll be sharing our efforts with you, knowing that your feedback on the progress is critical. We are committed to and focused on ensuring Battlefield 2042 lives up to our ambitions and your expectations. It's a task that we're dedicated to accomplishing. I'm sorry. Please take the reins here because I'm off the pack with this one.
Nah, bro. It's just reading those before. You saw I put comments on it though, just laughing. I was just like, yo, what happened? Like, you were supposed to be the chosen one. Like, what happened to you?
Isn't it amazing? Man? Like 4 months ago, we're talking about, we got to get it on Game Pass because then you got Battlefield, you got Halo going against COD. Now they own Activision. We're talking about COD exclusivity. Battlefield's out the door. Rand Outdoors crying because his favorite FPS series is in the shitter. Like, it's terrible,
bro. This is bad. Like, now I see why Vince was called. Mm-hmm. Like, I see it now. Mm-hmm. I see it was code red in that building. They like, This is a pillar franchise. This thing is dead and stinking, right? It like, I can't even remember what the player counts was, but I remember the last time I looked, maybe about a couple of weeks ago.
I got you.
It wasn't even in top 20. It was awful. And I'm just like, what the hell happened? Like, it's so bad. I'm scared to play it. Like, I've not played it. I was just like, I'm not playing it. After that initial beta, I was like, I'm not playing it. People are giving me very negative impressions. I don't want to see it like that. When I like something and I get that much negative from people I trust, I'm like, I don't even want to see it until it's finished and done. Mm-hmm. This summer, my guy, like, this is just, generally, I am shocked that this has happened to Battlefield.
Yeah.
Like, I could have never predicted this. I could say, okay, they would have lost. Like, we're getting into Anthem territory. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, we're getting into a scary zone where you might not exist. And it's just like, what the hell has happened? And it just goes to show you, when you said it best. Remember when the initial announcement. They were like, yo, guys, sorry, we're going to delay. We're like, okay. And then you're like, Carl, look at the date they delayed. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That ain't even that much of a delay. So I'm like, it goes to show you internally, did the board have too much influence in saying, hey, we have to have this out holiday? And that thing wasn't ready, and it's looking like a turd right now. This is bad. This is bad. Yeah. Battlefield resulted to this? Yikes.
Yeah, this is, for those who want an equivalent of the delay of a first season coming out, look at Fallout 76. It didn't get its first piece of actual new content, which, by the way, wasn't even much, just like what we're seeing here, until I think it was like May, March the following year, like around that time period. Like it was in the spring. So the game came out in November. That's that big of a gap. And look where Fallout 76 is now. Like it's improved in a lot of ways, but it took a while. I feel bad for DICE, man, because like they're too talented of a team to have this happen not once, but twice, right? Like Battlefront 2 was a monetary travesty that, again, underneath the surface, you could see like, hey, there's a good game here. And once they finally took it out and they started supporting it and adding content, then they stopped supporting it and moved on to this. And you're thinking like, well, from the outside looking in, this is the movement. This, as Cog said, the chosen one. This is what Battlefield fans have wanted. And it turns out to be like this. It's so sad because, again, I think Rand really put it great last week, which is, I can't believe what's happened to such a, it was ramping up to, start really going toe to toe with COD. Like it wasn't move out of the way. It's Call of Duty. Yeah. It's move out of the way. It's Battlefield, with Battlefield 3, 4, like it was really ramping up. Bad Company 2. I love Bad Company 2 and Battlefield 3. Like, these are amazing games. And to see how they've just fallen, it's shocking, frankly.
The last point, you know what pisses me off about it the most? Bro, you're multiplayer only.
Yeah, you dropped the campaign for it, yeah.
Like, you dropped there is no reason it should be this. The foundation should be this bad. You adding voiceover IP now? What's going on? What's going on, man? Bro, it's just it's shocking. It really is. And now I get it. Now I see why Vince was called. It was a code red. This thing is, who knows when we. And it was sad about it. Is on paper, this was supposed to be the Battlefield because we wanted a modern one. We wanted that, no 7 years ago. Like people wanted this one, Levolution and all. Like I was hyped.
Yeah.
And I would have never predicted this for a Battlefield. I'm shocked.
It's sad. It really is.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, hopefully we'll hear more good news in like 6 months, but for now we let it rest and move on to number 6. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. On February 3rd, we get Contrast on cloud and console. Shout out to Compulsion Games on that one.
Compulsion Games. I remember that. I picked that up for PlayStation, one of my PS4 launch titles.
Indeed.
Yep.
Dreamscaper comes to cloud, console, and PC. Telling Lies comes to cloud, console, PC. Then February 10th, we get Besiege in-game preview on cloud, console, and PC. Crossfire X arrives on consoles. Edge of Eternity arrives on cloud, console, and PC. Skull, the Hero Slayer, lands on cloud, console, and PC. And The Last Kids on Earth and the Staff of Doom lands on cloud, console, and PC. Then, February 14th, Ark's Ultimate Survivor Edition lands on cloud, console, and PC. And then Infernax lands on cloud, console, and PC. Then the titles leaving Game Pass February 15th. Control, Code Vein, Final Fantasy 12, The Medium, Project Winter, and Falconeer. All of these leave cloud, console, and PC except for Final Fantasy 12, which leaves console and PC. Alan Galliano writes in, hey guys, just a quick question on the games coming and leaving Game Pass this month. For the first time, I feel a bunch of good stuff is leaving and not really being replaced by anything of the same quality level. Maybe I'm biased because Control is one of my favorite games ever, and I really enjoy Code Vein and Final Fantasy 12, but this coming month makes me feel kind of disappointed for the first time. What do you think? Could this be a sign of things to come for the first half of the year? Is the well running a bit dry at the start of the year? Love the pod and have a dream game release kind of day. You've had enough bad days already.
Salute.
Thank you, Alan.
Salute, Alan. Salute. Yeah, this is this to me, this is the part of Game Pass I get people don't talk enough about. And people just assume that things get added, it's like it's staying, and it's not. Like, this is a service, things going to get cycled out. I will say this is a lot of quality games coming out for the most part. It's one of those things where it does lead into what the first half of the year concerns were, which were like, okay, what do you have now? January, we like, we still got a couple more. We got an MLB snuck in there. We still, what's going on with March? Like, we still got little gaps here and there, and I'm very curious to see how they handle that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I'm not like going crazy with all these stuff that comes out, but it is something to pay attention to, because things, for the most part, don't stay forever. Not everything stays forever, unless you're a first party. I mean, Xbox Game Studio first party. Then that you're in there forever. And looks like EA, of course, with certain things are going to be in there with the deal, and maybe Ubisoft, once the Ubisoft Plus stuff starts to hit in. But it's something to pay attention to. That's why they have to feed that service. They have to keep putting quality stuff in there to keep people in the service.
Yeah, I think out of everything that's leaving, Control's the one that I'm kind of going, dang, the most over. But for me, at least, Medium. I clowned the Medium in a write-up just before. Final Fantasy 12. I remember I got a lot of hate for that in the early days of Defining Duke, but I can't stand that game. I don't think it's that good at all. I mean, I'm just saying, wash the crust out of your eyes, everybody. Let's remember, yes, this was very impressive on the PS2. Go back and play it. Tell me that story. That protagonist is good. I mean, the gambit system's all right. I could go on, but like, I don't think Final Fantasy 12 is that great. It's one of my most disliked videos on YouTube, by the way. So I know I'm in the minority. I
gotta watch this.
It's not I'm not anything like pre 2018. I don't think I'm proud of anymore, because even though I played that game to completion, I probably watch it and go like, oh, you're so stupid, Matt. It's good. It's a sign that I'm growing, right? But
you grow growth.
But yeah, not to make this about me. Just out of everything that's really leaving, Code Vein is one of those things that was installed. And I'm like, I'm gonna get to you. I never did. Control's the one that I'm really like, I should have got around to that, but it's so cheap now that you could buy that for like $10-$20 and play it. So I'm not too upset about that. Yeah, I will agree though that the additions here are less hype, but like I feel wrong for complaining. We just got two of the best trilogies. Let's let those settle in. People need time to play them. I think they'll get their set of great games again. Maybe those trilogies don't interest people, but I mean, if they do, then you got to think of the content that you got to go through for that, and just how long games are. I think it's high time for a slower set of weeks for Game Pass, especially with Crossfire X releasing. It's like, it's not exciting. It's not a sexy pick, but it is exclusive. Right. Yeah, so let that get the limelight, if you will. Yeah. Because out of everything on this list, at least for me, and maybe because we're hosts here, but I look at it, I'm like, okay, that's the one that I'd probably be willing to check out of the whole list.
Oh, yeah.
I'd suggest Contrast anybody, because I thought that was a cool little title, and it can give you an idea of the creativity at Compulsion Games, who's working on that just one game that we were talking about. But I think that Alan's take here is completely fair, but I'm not too upset about it. I feel like we've been spoiled month after month where there's been great stuff. Fair. So not too upset.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, speaking of Game Pass, it's time for our Game Pass Back Compat picks of the week. This one goes to you, Cog. What do you got for us?
So I'm doing some backlogging, and I was like, all right, this was like last weekend, and I was just like, oh yeah, I downloaded this game. I'm going to say it now because they hate when I do the build up. The Gunk. And I was just like, oh yeah, I got to get to that. And to be honest, the reason why I procrastinated, because I didn't hear the greatest things. People were like, Cog is okay. And look, full disclosure, I think the criticism is valid. The reason why it's on my list, though, is because I'm playing a game and I'm coming into it like, all right, let me just try it. Say I've done it, and I'm most not going to like it based on the feedback that I hear. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, damn, this got potential. It's just missing a few things. Okay. So the reason why it's on my list is because, Maddie, don't kill me. This is one of those games like Ascent where I want the fix your face. I want them to stick with. Okay. The reason why is because I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, first of all, we talk about content creator, representation, this off rip, African-American female character. But it's more than that. I actually liked the banter between her friend in the ship and you while you're out on the mission. You land on this planet, you're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, there's this gunk, you've got this little, she's kind of like these like mechanical attachments, almost like the human vacuum cleaner of the game, and you're like sucking up the gunk. Okay, so at first I was like,
that just sounds gross.
Oh no, sorry. So at first I'm like, oh, this is really not no combat. This is just me cleaning stuff, right?
Yeah.
But the way I look at it is like this. This is why I'm saying stick with it. As it opened up and the game starts to get more beautiful as you clear stuff up, and then you start to see these animals, and she's starting to learn more about the planet. And I wanted it to be a situation like you look at a game like Kenna, right? And you look at how beautiful. Like I felt like if this game had a little bit more visual polish, that like instead of the AA budget polish, and it had a AAA Ratchet and Clank look, the potential of what this gunk thing and how the planet could be good. Then I started to get a little into my upgrades. I'm like, okay, all I'm saying is there is potential for a sequel that could be done right. And I want them to stick with it the same way with Ascent. The foundation is there. It's still rough.
Okay.
It's still got, some shine issues and things they need to fix. That's why I'm at it. I was pleasantly surprised that I didn't quit it. I thought I was going to play like, all right. And I'm like, no, you know what? Let me go farther. Let me keep going. And I'm getting some upgrades. I'm making her faster.
Short, yeah?
Yeah, it's short. I'm like, maybe like halfway through. But I'm really getting into it. And that's why I just wanted to say, Xbox or whoever, stick with it.
Yeah.
You could have a platform. And I will say some of the dialogue is really cool. Nice. It's really fun. They don't take themselves seriously. It's a great relationship. And I've been enjoying the time. Nice. Not perfect, but worth a try to see what the potential could be.
No, it's a great pick. I remember I was talking to my buddy Kev Do It. For those who don't watch Kev Do It, by the way, it's a hilarious YouTuber. Highly recommend watching him. Love Kev. But he was telling me he played the gunk, and he said he like got 100% achievements and beat the game in like 5 hours or something along those lines. Apparently, it's like very, very short.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. Whenever I look at that game, I should play it because it kind of gives me Blinks the Time Sweeper energy in a way. I think it's because you have like the vacuum type.
The thing.
Kind of reminds me of that, but I'll have to fire it up at some point when I'm looking for a nice weekend game just to burn through.
Bro, it's quick. What I liked is it's not demanding. You can get through it. Like it's not super demanding, but just look at it from a potential standpoint when you get a chance.
Definitely. All right, we got some questions to round things out and conclude our show. Let's start off with Ren, who writes in, "Hey Dukes, EA has announced that Respawn are working on 3 Star Wars games. A plethora of other studios such as Quantic Dream and Massive Entertainment have announced plans for their own Star Wars titles, while several others are rumored to be doing so as well. In recent months, we've also seen many talented studios taken off the board for what will be multiple years to work on superhero games. Firaxis, Monolith, Insomniac, and Eidos Montreal, to name a few, not to mention the other several WB-owned studios. What are your guys' thoughts on the possibility of oversaturation of comic book or Star Wars and comic book IP-based video games in the coming years? For better or for worse, the movie and TV industries have been bombarded over the past decade with movies and shows based on those IP. I enjoyed them as much as the next guy, but I find it slightly disappointing if that's where the games industry is heading, at a time where the technology enables so many creative ideas. Do you guys foresee a stagnation in creativity and new ideas in favor of these established IP, or is there enough variation and hype to where this doesn't become an issue? Keep up the great work. Thank you, Ren."
Yeah, shout out to Ren. That's a great question. I think it's valid. I think there's some valid concern here. You get a little concerned, obviously, that Star Wars license, all these, so many people getting in on this. I look at it with the opposite approach. I get the concern, and you want them to be creative, and you don't want it to get samey. But I will say this, for the geek, and Maddie, you'll appreciate this, is that we've come from a long, terrible history of awful superhero games.
So the words right out of my damn mouth. Yep. Keep going.
Me and you were on that same page, brother. That's why we do this. We the Dukes. It's like, the thing is, bro, it's just like we've suffered. We know those movie license tie-in garbage games where you literally just slap the movie trailer poster on a box and you cashed out and you put no thought and effort. So you see a game like Spider-Man by Insomniac, right? And you go, yes, the care, the culture, the feel. You're swinging. You're like, okay, they understand what the geeks want. And now, for the first time, I feel we're in a place in the industry where they get it and they're going to put the proper care and resources to play these franchises right. And as a geek, I'm sorry, I'm selfish. Bring them on.
Mm-hmm.
Bring them on. I want my Midnight Suns for Axis. I want my Star Wars. I want it. Bro, I'm never going to get enough. It's the same thing with movies. Think about before the MCU and DC, whatever, hit their stride. Those awful superhero movie. I remember garbage. Remember Captain America from way back in the day? Remember like Punisher from way back in the day? Like these are awful, awful. Street Fighter, the movie and all it. Trash. Like we're in a place where it's like, yo, they got it now. Yeah. Give it to me. Yeah. I'm sorry. All day, every day, I want more of the good ones.
I'm right there with you, right? We remember when we got a question on Duke a couple weeks back about, have we entered like a golden age for Star Wars gaming? And I was saying, like, look, we can't really compare it to like that era where we got like Republic Commando, KOTOR, Battlefront 1 and 2, et cetera, Empire at War. But it's funny because Ren says where technology enables so many creative ideas, do we foresee stagnation? I'm like, I see potential. A lot of these games had like one gimmick and they just ran with it. Like Battlefront was just no graphical fidelity, just big battles. And you are the clone trooper. You are the rebel soldier. With KOTOR, it was a lot more complex. That's why I think it's so impressive, of course. Republic Commando is a squad-based shooter, and it's just that. There's no exploration, no collectibles, none of that. You just go straight and shoot. But now, because the technology's gone forward so much, you can have multiple facets throughout all of these games where they're not just doing one thing. It's why you get Jedi Fallen Order, which has a great story, but also exploration and also Metroidvania elements. It's like this, just like Cox, this is what we want. This is what we've always wanted. And if anything, at the bare minimum, these heroes that we haven't even heard of, villains we haven't even heard of, are conduits for unique gameplay ideas because of the way they've been represented in other mediums. It's like, you got to match that now. How do you make that feel good on a controller? I think of something like, I don't know, Deadpool. Deadpool got a video game during the early 2010s.
I got the one for you.
What?
I got it for you.
What do you got?
Daredevil.
Yes. Perfect.
Murdoch.
Perfect.
Maddie in his own game. Daredevil. Let's go.
Dude, no, perfect, right? Perfect pick. There's the martial arts. There's the stealth element there. The vision. You could have your own like survivor sense, or I think what did Cog call it for, or not Cog, Carrick. He called in Mafia 3 you had, I think he called it Vietnam Vision.
Shout out to Gary. He's hilarious.
But, you have that ability to sense objectives around you, so it's a little more organic. You're right. That's a perfect pick. Daredevil's more known than ever. But the thing that I want to shout out, Cog, is originally we needed to have the movie, the TV show on the big screen to justify the games. Not anymore. People are way more open to these comic book characters. The fact that Guardians of the Galaxy is a mainstream property with a individual video game that's really good, and it seems like it sold pretty well. That is a testament to where we are with pop culture. That it's not just your Spider-Man, your Captain America, your Iron Man, the big dogs in the house, Batman. Now you can start to bring out maybe your Silver Surfer, Cog. Start to come out.
That's my heart.
Yeah.
I need
could
that.
see that people are more, I'm not saying it's going to be good, but people are more open to it.
Right. The quality. Because, again, the fan service, the quality, and now all these different stories can be told. And it showed, like you said, we just did a spoiler cast on Guardians of the Galaxy. And it was fire. Like, that goes to show you where games are. And that's considered a smaller property in the MCU universe, right? That's not even no big, and it's obscure. It's a space, cosmic guy. There's stories to be told. And I think the studios, the developers, they get it now. They understand the care and the quality that is required to make these games. And the fans want them. Keep it going, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for writing it, Ren.
Yeah, salute, Ren. Good question, though.
Let's talk with the Rogue. Dear Defined Dukes, I'm excited about all the teams that Xbox has to leverage, but I'm conflicted on what I want to see each of them work on. Would you like to see Xbox prioritize sequels and old IP or develop new IP? I think I lean to new IP, but every team working on something new and creative is a team neglecting a beloved IP. my finger just broke through the toilet paper kind of day. God. What kind of toilet paper are you using that's breaking like that? We got multi-ply paper, toilet paper now. This should not be happening. It should not be happening anymore. We're not cavemen anymore. Anyway, Cog, old IP, new IP. What are you picking? As we highlighted multiple weeks in a row now, you're always losing something somewhere. So it's like, what's the concession you make?
This is hard. Because they're in a situation with Activision, with all the that they can revive a bunch of old IP. I don't know realistically if it all could come back, but I think I'm going to lean new. I don't know where you go with this, but I think I'm going to lean new only because I've been on Xbox. I've been very hard on them with the new protagonists for the future outside of Halo, Gears, Forza. And I rather see new faces. I rather see heroes that you like. Like, I'm jealous of PlayStation. Jin Sakai. I look at Jin Sakai. I'm like, damn, so cool. Feudal Japan. Like, oh, but they got one. They got one, right? I want Microsoft to develop new identities, new stories. And as I said, I'm curious. Like, we didn't even talk about it in this show, but Starfield announced all this new, content and concept art, which seems to be controversial. Now you can't even show content art without the fanboys getting upset. But, at the end of the day, like, it's showing the potential. And I think to Xbox advantage, if they do new IPs and they are successful, that is going to change the narrative from a lot of people that hate on the Xbox ecosystem and say, look at these new creators and new characters that have flourished under Xbox's regime, because they still have to prove that these investments pay off. And that, me personally, I will lean with them to go new IP. That's where I'm at. But of course, I ain't mad if, you get Sega, you do get Jet Set Radio. I ain't mad. You do, Activision, all those beloved IPs we talked about, and you bring them. I ain't mad. I just still want the new heroes for the future.
Yes, exactly that. I agree with you. I think I'm going to lean new. Obviously, nostalgia has a big grip on my heart, but exactly what you said, that Xbox needs new IP. Like, I was just taking a moment there while you were talking to scroll through some of the best-selling PS2 games, and I look at some of the IP that PlayStation has had the ability to abandon, like Jak and Daxter. I'm like, that was a major mascot, but because they evolved and kept trying new things, like, they were able just to be like, okay, we can move on from this. I love Jak and Daxter. I'd love to see it come back. But because they left it behind, they brought us The Last of Us. I don't like the sequel to The Last of Us, but the first one is incredible. We would have never got that experience if they didn't keep moving forward. So I want to see them keep pushing forward, creating new mascots, because that's what PlayStation does so well. I always say it. I know we're a broken record this episode, but the console box characters, the characters that you can put all over and say, this defines our platform. PlayStation could do that in their fucking sleep. Xbox can't without you seeing a car, Master Chief, and Marcus Phoenix. Like, you just, what else you got? What else you got? Ori? Nope.
You got preach. It's funny. I just, how I'm addicted to merch. Me and you have that internal thing.
I'm still waiting on my Jet Set Radio shirt. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on some Sega stuff too. But I went to the PlayStation store and I'm like, I'm organizing. I'm like, let me go check out what's going on. You saw me episode.
Over there.
I have my Ghost of Tsushima hoodie. Like, but here's the thing: they have a shirt, and bro, I'm bad. I know.
I just think it's great. I think it's so funny. Keep going.
Bro, I'm bad. So like, I go over there and like, they literally have a shirt, and it's like, let's say 4 by like 6 characters down, 24 characters, and it's like Kratos, Aloy, Jin Sakai, Jack, like all their IP. And I'm like, yo, look at how many they have, that they could have a shirt with just the faces of these characters and you know who they are. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. That's the culture Xbox has to cultivate that's why we want new IPs, because you want that brand association. You go, wow, they could even make a Smash game, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what you want, man. Those iconic IPs and characters. So yeah, I'm with you.
I wonder if they're gonna, how I think about it, a lot of their upcoming games, like from In Exile, Bethesda Game Studios, you think of Avowed, like, these are RPGs where like there's no, I guess with Starfield, what we've seen from the art, you do have that character there. But what they're making RPGs so much, like, they have the games, they don't have the character you can put there, right?
Yeah, it's a good point. That's a good point. I thought about Outer Worlds. Shout out to my boy Ben Kenobi. He's got He's an artist that does a lot of stuff for the Xbox community. Even Phil Spencer and Aaron Greenberg and these guys use his art. He's actually created one basically with like all the IP, like the future IPs of all the Xbox game studios, and it looks very cool. I'm not gonna lie, it a lot of existing stuff, But again, a lot of them, let's be honest, no name or create a character kind of things. That is not a singular person. That's why the new IP and the new protagonist is so important.
Indeed. Our last question of the episode goes to Stephen Richard. He writes in, my Dukes, long-time listening, recent patron. Speculation question here. After seeing Sony retaliate and acquiring Bungie, who do you think is next on their list? They are known for Wait, did we actually answered this one, didn't we?
We kind of did answer.
I apologize. No, it's so funny because I trimmed some questions out of the episode because we were fattening up a little bit. We were trying to keep it tight. And I'm so sorry. Well, I can grab another one real quick in the meantime.
Oh, good. It's all good. We can do one. No, basically to answer it, we talked about the retaliation. We talked about, BioWare. We did talk about that, you know what I'm saying? And then, as far as what the theory is, as far as what next could be on Sony's list. And, for me, it was always like Capcom, maybe Squares, Sega, who knows? Listen, stay tuned, right? So, this is a good question, though, Stephen. We definitely respect it.
Here we go. Let's do this one for Michael Welter, because this one I think you can answer.
Okay.
Hey guys, first time right in here. What do you guys think about the Witch Queen having 1 million pre-orders? Outside of the Destiny community, people assume it's a dead game. Cog knows the meme. As far as we know, PlayStation is not getting exclusives, but in the FAQ, they specifically mention Witch Queen. Not Destiny 2 across the board. I'm worried about it. What say you, gents? Love the show. You guys keep me company at work, and I can't thank you enough. Keep it up.
Look, man, I understand the trepidation. This is a lot of Xbox fans being scarred from, what I'm saying? But, listen, the thing is, we said it we had Hogue on, we've looked at the language, we've looked at what's been prioritized. They're only going to talk about Witch Queen right now because that's literally immediately on the roadmap. They're trying to promote it. But I think you're fine. I think there's not going to be a situation, at least with Destiny for sure, that anything's getting pulled. They work so hard to get that on crossplay and to create these communities to get the most engagement. There's no way, in my opinion, they pull it off or backtrack on any of his words. And then on top of that, PlayStation is saying it. It's one thing for Bungie to say it, but it's another thing for the owner, the person who bought you, to be like, no, they are completely independent. They're going to be multi-platform. I think you're going to be fine. You have nothing. If you're an Xbox fan, you're sitting okay. You can excel. It's not going to get taken from you. However, back to what we said with Stephen's question, the other guy, the other stuff, moving forward, I don't know if they're going to have deals like Bungie is afforded. The other PlayStation game studios, PlayStation Studios acquisitions, I don't know if they're going to have that level of autonomy. We're going to see. That remains to be seen.
What do you think about the million pre-orders, though? Like, that's...
Oh, my bad.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking, I was like, that's the reason it caught my eyes. I'm like, that's... I thought it was a lot, but I also thought, like, wouldn't this be more? But I guess when you think of a game that's how many years old now, having 1 million pre-orders for an expansion, that's huge.
Yeah, bro, it's huge. Listen, they have a lot of pressure on this DLC because it's the Witch Queen. Taken King is with Oryx as the boss and the raid boss, one of the most iconic raids and expansions in Destiny history. Some have it as their number one, arguably so. It literally saved Destiny. Destiny 1 was going down until Taken King showed they could do a story, make it cohesive, and lead into a raid. They did it perfectly. Witch Queen has that pressure. This is Oryx's sister.
Vault, or is that available now? I'm not even joking with you. I'm like,
it's Destiny 1 that it never carried over to Destiny 2. Okay. But I'll be honest, if it was, let's say it debuted in Destiny 2, it would definitely probably be in the vault by now. Okay. But so it's a D1 expansion. Gotcha. But anyway, I digress. But look, so far it looks good. The storyline has been great. This is the Great Witch Queen of Deception. People are excited. And Hive are always a great antagonist, and now they have the light. They can do with the Guardians. They're just as powerful. The story is fantastic. It's just the execution. I think people are hyped, and the hype is justified. But there is a lot of pressure on them. That's why I like the Sony deal, because now it can help facilitate all these big ambitions that they have with this game. So
I'm excited to see your thoughts on it for sure, because we talked about it for so long.
Doing it day one, basically how I get it, that when it comes out, I'm going to be a caveman. I might have to take off work. I will be a caveman for a little bit. And then basically you prepare for about a week, 2 weeks for the raid. The raid is one of my favorite experiences in gaming. I think it's the best cooperative experience in all of gaming. You go in blind. You don't know what to do. And you work with 6 friends and you try to figure it out.
Perfect. February 22nd, it comes out. That's a Tuesday. We record on a Wednesday. Good to go. You'll be there with some fresh impressions. That'll be exciting.
Ready to go.
Last question, actually, of the show. Apologies to the audience. I replaced the questions that I had originally cut out, so no one got left out here. Connor Gassian writes in, "Hey, Fluffer Nutter Maddie," and this one's cold. Lord Garoppolo.
Wow. You coming from my heart. That was a stab.
Yeah. Game Pass has been great for getting people to experience games they normally wouldn't check out. What are 3 games you played over the last year that you wouldn't have checked out otherwise and that you would recommend to others? For me, I played Nobody Saves the World, shout out to Drinkbox, Fable, and Psychonauts. Oh no, Cog, I'm sorry. Your team makes the conference championship, but Jimmy giveaways is your quarterback type of day. P.S. Cog, welcome to the Bengals bandwagon.
Yo, shout out to I think I know who that is. Connor, I think I know who wrote that in because I think he's on my Twitter and he's a Bengals fan. So salute to him for being messy. Those are bars. I can't even, you got me. Those are like, everybody knows how much I hate Jimmy. Good riddance. Get out.
He's gone? He's gone after the season?
Yeah, they already said they're finding suitable partners. He's making public statements. Yeah, I can't wait to go. Yeah, get away. With this, this is a good question. For me, Forgotten City would not have played that if it wasn't on Game Pass. Period. Phoenix Point, I rave. I always give them their flowers. What was the name? It was a game I finished. Why am I forgetting the name? It was like one of those walking sim type games from UK. Oh, it was called the Last Stop. Last Stop would never have played without Game Pass. 3 games. Yeah, those are probably the 3 for now. Those are my 3 for now, as far as that I wouldn't have played over that. Yeah, that one. Disco?
No.
Which one I'm forgetting?
Little high school experience with the murderous bear.
Danganronpa. Absolutely.
I don't think that was in the queue without.
That was no. You're right, and because of Game Pass, I had no excuse. Danganronpa, facts, big time facts.
I have a little bit of trouble with this because I do download and dabble. I'm gonna throw out Sea of Thieves as one of them. Sea of Thieves, obviously, I said at the beginning of the show how, hey, Sea of Thieves was really saved by Game Pass, but like I definitely wasn't planning on buying this or playing it. I remember when I did buy it. I played it with patrons once, and that was it because we just wanted an online game to all play together. And when I played it, I was like, this shit's not fun at all. I'm out. And then I went back, and Game Pass really propelled that because my friends were able to hop in, and we were, a couple years after, able to get back in, all of us together, and enjoy that. So yeah, Sea of Thieves is like an immediate one for me that definitely comes to mind. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, 3 is actually surprisingly tough for me. I don't know if I'll have 3 that I'm like super passionate about. But I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. There was one game. Oh my God. Slap me upside the head. Unsighted.
Oh yeah.
This game.
You go hard for Unsighted.
Yeah, Unsighted is an indie game by 2 people, and it's a beautiful 16-bit pixel art action game with elements from Zelda, Hades. So good. The story and music is great. Love Unsighted, man. Again, if you're sleeping on this game, go download it. It's really good. Anyone who's written in about it says they love it. Like Unsighted's a hidden gem. So that's the one that was on the tip of my tongue. And you know what, Cog? I hate to pick the big dogs here.
Let's go.
Forza.
No, that's real though for you. Yes.
If I, that's the thing. I feel like it's tough for me because I review so much. I play a lot of these games anyway. Forza for me, it's an easier recommendation because it's in Game Pass because you've got people like me who are like, no, I don't like racing games. And then you play Horizon 5, you're like, this is just a top dog, man. Like they're ahead of the pack in racing, far ahead. They're doing such a great job at Playground. It's confidence for the future with Fable. So definitely Forza because we already know how E3 2021 went for Maddie. I got called a brat, got called immature. All those still apply to this day.
That's a good one. Yeah, Forza was a really good one. I like that pick from you.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you in episode 57 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Cog, it's been a most excellent one with you.
Yeah, it's
Excellent.
been a banger. Yeah, it's been a banger for sure. For sure. We had a lot of different topics.
Yeah.
When we coming up with the hashtag, man? I
Ooh.
got maybe one. What you thinking?
Ooh. Yeah, it's really
What
hard
you
to top
thinking?
Fluffernutter, right? Like
Oh
that
God, I
was
had to deal with that on my
yeah, that
tongue.
was all over the place.
Shoot.
People were really loving that.
Oh, they loved it. They loved it. I was thinking
Hmm.
maybe organic.
Oh, yes.
We
Yes.
can be messy. We
Bring the
can be messy.
PlayStation fans through the mud with us a little bit. Yeah.
It could be a little petty,
Any bit of
you
support, they're
know.
kind of shooting themselves in the foot.
We can do organic
Yeah, I like
DD.
that.
Oh, if you got something else
No,
too, let me know.
that's a perfect one. If you got this deep into the episode, you want to let us know, whether it be the comments on Twitter. I'm at G27status. He is Lord Cognito. You can tweet at either of us there with the hashtag OrganicDD. Let us know you finished the episode. Again, if you don't want to go on Twitter or whatever, Patreon comments are fine. The YouTube comments are fine. We just want to know you got to the end of the show, get some of your thoughts on it. So please do fire away. Other than that, Cog, any closing thoughts here? Or shall we move on to eventually episode 58?
Yeah, man. Let's move on, brother.
All right.
We got more to do.
Yes, we do. We stay agile here. So, ladies and gentlemen, take great care of yourselves. Have an average day, and we'll see you next time for episode 58. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.